All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC 322, Della Maddalena versus Makhachev, taking a look at UFC Qatar, Tsarukyan versus Hooker. And to do all of that with me, as always, the Ohio player, man, myth, and legend, a man who will lay and pray on your girlfriend if you don't watch your mouth, Mr. Chase Parton. How you doing, brother?
We are good. Obviously it is Monday. We had fights on Saturday. Another dealio to go down, and I am very excited to talk about some of these, and then we'll get to some of the other ones, of course. So,
Always, absolutely. Well, if you are here and you are new, we are going to be going over each and every fight from 322. So, if you have anything that you would like to talk about that is not pertaining to the fight that we are talking about at the time, you can throw it in the chat. We can come back to it at a little bit later in the show. But without further ado, I think we should just jump right on in. So, leading into this card, Chase, before we get into it, what were your initial thoughts about UFC 322?
well, we had our weeks in hell at the Apex, and then obviously our pay-per-view came up, so everybody reasonably should be excited. And I was definitely buying into a lot of the names on this, and for good regards. There's some good names that we get to talk about here, but some of the other ones, I mean, I was hyped, but I am no longer looking forward to some of these fighters' fights. I will tell you that.
Well, it's like every card we talk about, like the ups and downs, it's like a symphony. They go through, highs and lows and crescendos and all of that. And this one, it like had a good middle portion where you were just like, man, this is going really, really great. And it like almost looks like a bell curve. It like petered off at the very end, at least in the excitement aspect of it. But we can talk about the implications for the sport itself, because really, if you think about it, the welterweight division took a massive, massive shakeup on this card in many ways, not just in the main event. So we got a lot to talk about with all of this. So let's
Yeah,
jump into it, shall we?
yeah. Let's definitely do that.
All right, starting this thing off. Well, yeah, before we do start this thing off, let's shout out the chat who is hanging with us. Love and appreciate you guys for being here early, my guys. Yeah, yeah, most definitely. The Makhachev point to the stars for y'all. Anakin, of course, Mank, appreciate you, and Beeb as well. Trust Beeb, we will talk about the Dylan Danish situation. That's a something that came up in the course of this thing. We'll get to it when it came, time in the event. We will definitely have some words about that.
Hilarious, because I did not see that comment, so I thought you were about to say, "Beep, don't worry, we are going to talk about Rick Allen's two dads." And don't worry, we had to give him a shout out real quick. So either way,
Always, and we're still looking for Mr. Allen himself. He's been MIA for a while, so one of these days he's gonna emerge from the hole within which he is dwelling currently. But for now,
yeah,
let's start this thing off with the first fight of this card. And for starting off at the one of the lower points, this was Vyacheslav Borshov versus Mateus Camilo. This was a slow fight.
this fight, to start the card, excuse me, we got taken away from again, our women's banger to start off, which we could have got, but they're trying to switch it up, and so they obviously thought Camilo was going to be some hot prospect because they gave him Borshow. This is a dude who he gives a war if you want to give it to him. He'll go for a quick round of a war, and then either way, but
Prospect builder Borshov, it should in
yeah,
theory,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. But when you come in here, and I've said this before, and obviously I've stated it's not about the number, it's just the connotation that you can say about it. It's like you're going to tell me you landed 48 strikes and you won this 3 round fight. You break it down. 15 strikes per round, not even? Like, are you serious? Like, that's landed too. Like, no way.
Yeah, well, that's
No way.
I had that as the very last note of this thing was that the optics really were what won it for Camillo, because Borshov was way up on the significant strikes if you just go by the numbers. But I mean, really, it like honestly, I think it was okay that this was the decision, because Borshov, he was not active enough in this fight. I mean, Camillo really not either, too. I mean, I admit this again. This was a slow fight all around, but like
Hmm.
Barshov was bothering me because we, like you said, we know that Barshov will open up. Like if you take him to war, he will give you the war back. But Camille was doing the takedown thing. You know, he had multiple takedowns, a lot of control time. Even though it doesn't really, it didn't even equal up to a lot of control time that clocked anyway. But the point is that he was going for the takedowns. He was getting a couple of them, and it was like there was no real urgency on Borshov's side to turn up the striking to counteract that. Because what I said is that he had some nice combinations when he was actually extending them and when he was trying to land them, but he was only doing twos and threes most of the time, and then he would just back off, and it would allow Camilo to get his game plan off. So really, I was a little underwhelmed by this fight in general, but more so by Borshov, especially as a dude with more experience in the UFC.
You know, this one, I with his record looking the way that it was at the time, obviously it's one loss worse now, but like, can you blame him for being a little more conservative? No, I guess, but like that's the reason that he was, so dangerous, is that he kind of could, throw it all at the wall. And he's never really been one to win fights, obviously, we can see, but there was a time where I think he got that draw against somebody, and then they did that little meme dance, and then we had
Nazim
the
Sadikov,
Tom
yeah.
Nolan decision. Yeah, see, and then he went to decision with Tom Nolan, and he almost got finished in that, but he didn't. So this one, again, we got a 3 round boring fight that not really excited for Camilo after that. Borshov, I mean, we probably ain't gonna see him again, so it's more of an excitement factor. Like, holy shit, he's getting another fight. Like, I'm excited to see if that's even a possibility at this point. But Camilo, no, I don't even care. I could care less.
Yeah. This definitely was not a big coming out party for Camilo if this was what it was supposed to be. I mean, you think about the fight with Chase Hooper and Vyacheslav Borshov, where Chase Hooper got a
Mm-hmm.
super nice bump off of that just because of how much damage he was able to inflict and really again the optics of it. It made him look really good. Now Hooper has had mixed results thereafter, but Borshov is a good stepping off point if you make the fight that way. If that's the route that you take with the fight, Camilo going for the easy takedowns. Now, granted, they were easy takedowns. Since I said after the first takedown, I was like, oh, this is going to be a problem for Borshov if he keeps letting this happen, because that first takedown was really just like an ankle pick and off to the ground we go kind of thing. So that ended up being a lot of what this fight was. No real urgency on either side, as I said, and Camilo ends up getting the nod, I guess, which is fine. I do think he won the fight, but it certainly was not an impressive fight and not one that inspired much future enjoyment in your mind currently, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I actually shout out Anakin for this comment, and shout out Anakin in general, NCT ESPN. But of course, Borshov versus Jubilee at this point is very valid. I love to see it.
Word, yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, honestly. And I think that if Anshul Julie comes in here and like puts on a show, then that would A, be the definite end of Borshov, and B, keep the Indian King in the equation. We need the Lion King around. So
100%.
right on. So
Yeah, I
all
don't
right,
think I have
buddy.
anything more to say about this fight.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's really about it. It was like what I had said on the watch along starting this thing off was that it's like if this is the beginning of the on paper greatest card of the year, then we were in for a little bit of trouble. But luckily, it starts to pick up a little bit thereafter. So yeah, we can move on from this underwhelming fight. Next,
100%.
next up on here was Beisinger Susurkayev versus Eric Makhachev. Makhachev came out the gate hot for this fight. I thought he looked good at the beginning of this fight.
He did look good, but I think it's partly because Sursakayev is just too lackadaisical in the cage, which we all know is going to be his downfall. The moment that it happens, we're going to be able to pinpoint it. There you go. That's exactly why he got chinned, is because he was doing that. He was thinking he's out there, floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee type of deal. And for the first 3 rounds, for the first 2 rounds, I guess, he was not doing much of that. He was kind of, he was flowing well, but when it comes to defense, he just leaves his chin up there and he kind of just hopes for the best. If Makhachev was actually decent, he probably would have got something off. But I think Sursakayev, again, is at the point in his career where he's good enough where he can just float by some of these guys and kind of just meme them and, do spins and shit in the fucking cage. Even at the beginning of the fight, you saw he just sat up against the cage. It's like, you good? Like, are you there? When he got kneed or whatever, or he kneed him in the there was a low blow, I believe. He just went and sat against the cage. Like, I don't know. He has his own way about things, and I'll give it to him. He's entertaining. He's obviously a spectacle. Um, and then, of course, coming out in the third round, getting a knockout that was pretty fucking good. It wasn't. I don't think I saw many people, at least my personal opinion. I didn't hear many people saying this was an early stop, but this dude was laying on the ground holding his head like he was done. So
Oh yeah, no, this
shout
was
out
an
shout out
okay
Sursa
stop.
Kaev, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, this was an okay stoppage as far as I was concerned. Yeah, there was there were two nut shots in this one. The first one was McConaughey to Beisinger, which halted the action long enough for Joe Rogan to talk about the steel tie cup, which is mandatory conversation as always. So
Yes.
you got to check it off the list, and we got that. So thank God for that. And then yeah, there was the second one with Susurkayev kicking, or no, he punched McConaughey in the dick. That's what it was.
Yes.
He landed a blow that went straight downward, right on target. But McConaughey wanting to get right back into it. It was like, okay, I don't know if that was a good or a bad move, because immediately after that was when the knockout happened. You say that this guy is entertaining, and I know that a lot of people probably do feel that way. When this knockout happened, the only thing that I could say was that this guy is going to get caught one of these days. Like, it's like you said, he's right at this level. He's at the point where it's like these guys will allow this kind of behavior, and it's gonna and like not allow it, but like he can get away with it. But like at some point, and I would say probably sooner than later, like there are going to be dudes who are not going to be playing around like this, or with this. I mean, like McConaughey. That's why I felt bad for McConaughey in this fight, because he really was like putting a lot of effort into the early round, and he won that first round pretty handily, I would say. But then that the power of Susurkayev won out with striking thereafter. Plus that follow through on that shot was really nice. He put his whole body into that shot and went straight through McConaughey's cheekbone. So that was impressive. But like I said, I do think that like this kind of half smirking the entire fight, thinking that you're this much of hot shit, is going to bite this dude in the ass in a big way coming up sometime soon. And I would say that once like he starts getting closer to the rankings, like I don't even think it has to be a ranked guy, just closer to the rankings, I think that he's going to have a bit of a wake up call here.
Yeah, at middleweight, we've seen the people at middleweight. Like, there's these hulking figures that are cutting massive amounts of weight to get down to this class. When you look at Sursakayev, and I don't know if you watched like the ceremonial weigh-ins, like this is after, he's good, he's rehydrated, he's ready to go. He doesn't have much muscular definition to him. Like, he's just a guy that kind of just shows up, which in theory, if he's gotten this far and that's all he's done, he must be pretty gifted. And the humbling experience should make him, elevate to the level where he needs to be once, he has to realize that like he can work really hard and be a lot better than these guys. But as of right now, I mean, I would love to see this dude hit the gym, I guess, like you're a pro athlete and you gotta get some benches in there or something, dude. The arms, man, but either way, at middleweight, a lot of hulking figures are going to be ahead of him that I don't think he's going to be able to chin like this. That's the
Yeah.
issue.
You'd think that he'd be in better shape with the way that the conditioning of Hamzat is, right? I mean, this is Hamzat's boy. He made that funny little meme call out of Hamzat at the end of the fight, which I did get a little chuckle out of. I thought that was kind of cute. But yeah, I mean, I agree. It's like he's training partners with Hamzat, who is in ridiculous shape, at least was in his title fight recently. Yeah, you'd think the definition would be there, but I can agree. I mean, you see it even in the picture on screen right here. I mean, he's kind of a slightly.
Hmm.
Got a little pudge on him.
Yeah, just average little guy, but that's cool. Appreciate him. He's fun. Minus 1500 gets the knockout in the third round. Probably should have been the first, but it is what it is. A knockout is a knockout.
Yeah, yeah. And, again, I think McConaughey, like, it was nice to see McConaughey putting this much effort into the fight after coming off of that very strange fight that he had with Brundage just recently. Both of them kind of looking a little bit sloppy in that one. It was an odd kind of roll around sort of fight, if I recall. So, McConaughey, like he's obviously trying, and it did look like he had like a decent game plan. I always appreciate fast starters, and he definitely was that. 2 rounds of taking it to him. I just, he got caught. So I got to see a little bit more out of McConaughey, maybe tighten up just a little bit.
I actually remember when the fight started and we saw Jared Cannonier in his corner again. I
Yes.
forgot. I was thinking to myself, oh, I forgot that Jared like coaches this dude, and that became a big factor in his last fight. I thought he did really well at coaching Makhachev, and when I saw that, I said, this was a major mistake on my end for betting or thinking that Tsarukyan should have an easy time with a coach like Jared in his corner. But unfortunately, Makhachev loses, so now Jared is just like 1-1 as a coach for what we've seen, kind of deal, or a cornerman kind of deal. So it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
really that threatening as if he would have if McConaughey would have came in here and won this fight, it's like, damn, Jared is really out here with these guys making some good game plans. But now that he loses, it's just like, oh, Jared's just in his corner. It's like everybody else. Like, why aren't you training for your own fight? I gotta have the same criticism that I have for Sugar Sean when he's over here at the Contender Series fights, but he's over here getting subbed by Marab. Like, you just got to be able to weigh those things, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's teammates, regardless of what they do in the cage, they can't necessarily transfer that to their other people on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Their teammates don't necessarily get it exactly by osmosis. So it is what it is on that front. Yeah, back to the drawing board for McConaughey if he has that ability in him. Because, I mean, now he's on a 2-fight losing streak, or is this 3 now? Either way, I mean,
Yeah, let me
regardless.
double check on that to correct you.
But yeah, whatever the answer is, I mean, he's probably getting closer to the chopping block now, especially after a knockout like that.
Right, 100%. Yeah, this one, not too worried about it. And yeah, I know he beat Brundage by split decision. That's
Oh,
right.
he
That's
won
why I
that
was
fight.
saying,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, right on. Fair enough. Yeah, yeah. So we'll see if he can keep it going. But this is obviously Susarkayev, the name to beat. Now he called out Bo Nickel, did he not? I think he did. Right. That was the first call out.
That's what the chat was saying just a minute ago. Yeah, so that sounds about right.
Well, I mean, now that we have a new mythical fighter unlocked in Striking Bow, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, maybe that makes a little bit more sense now. But we'll see. It depends on, not depends. It just will. It's going to be interesting, I guess, to say who they end up pairing Susarkayev with and what type of fight it becomes if he continues with this sort of, laid back, not really, almost too cool for school. This guy's like Joe Cool in there.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely feel that.
Yeah, so we shall see what ends up happening with him. But here, good knockout, good win. All right, next up then is Angela Hill versus Fatima Klein. This fight went exactly as expected. Fatima Klein next up. Unlike what some people on the watch along were saying, I was getting some pushback to our girl Fatima Klein from one E Money J, the resident betting expert, got this one entirely wrong, and I just thought that Fatima Klein was was overhyped. I said she is exactly properly hyped, considering that she is legitimately next up here to save women's strawweight.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And obviously, we'll talk about the person that she trains with later. And that should just show you that these girls are legit. Like, she's not somebody who's coming out here to just, fight. You can hear in her post fight speech, she always does this. Like, she didn't do this in her last fights, but she's always, saying, I could have done better. I think with the last knockout, she said, I could have done it earlier. Like, I feel like I should have done it earlier. I'm upset, kind of deal. And this one, she said, I wanted to get the finish. It's not that I just, I want to be good. Like, I want to be great. I want to be able to finish these girls because I know I can. I got the skill sets, things like that. Fatima Klein, not only does she have all of these weapons in the cage, she has the mindset that I'm going to utilize all of them to get the finish in the fight. It's not just play out here. This is kill or be killed. Fatima Klein, Angela Hill is not an easy person to finish, So shout out to her for making a 3-round slugfest out of this. She just got her ass whooped for 3 rounds, but she didn't get finished. And Fatima Klein just got to put on another masterful performance, 30-26, and she actually, most notable, she kind of rocked her a little bit at the end of the fight with a little spinning back elbow when she got up, which I think was interesting. She also landed the head kick that knocked Melissa Martinez out into retirement. I think is actually how that went. But
Yep.
This was great. Fatima Klein, E Money J, shout out you, but dude, that's a L take, buddy.
For real, get on the train, brother. I mean, you're exactly right. Hill is definitely tough. I like what I was saying on the watch along too. I like Angela Hill as a person. I think that she's got a sweet personality. She's a nice girl and all that. She can take a ton of damage. She's very tough, but there just was not a game plan for what Fatima Klein brings to the table because she's so well rounded. She starts off with the beautiful striking. If you want to go into the clinch, if that's what you think is going to save you from the range striking, she'll do anything she wants in the clinch as well. She'll take you down. She can stay in knee in the clinch. She uses her knees and kicks very well, in addition to the hand striking. So really, it's just the entire package here. And shout out to CTE who was on the watch along because he was saying he had a couple of what I thought was pretty valid criticisms of her striking, just saying that she could probably manage the range a little bit better when she's kicking because there were a couple of times she was a little too close to get the kicks off properly. She could also go to the body a little bit more with her striking. And what I said is she's 25 years old. I mean, if she is this good at 25, the ceiling is exponentially high for her to just increase her skill set and sharpen the blade that much farther. And if she's already right there beating veteran fighters now, and will continue to do that. I just think that she has such a good raw talent base to start that you're only going to iterate on that and continue to get better. A future champion is absolutely applicable here.
The thought that I instantly have when I think about Fatima Klein, especially in women's, straw weight, with who we just saw as the champion, of course, Fatima Klein is so good that you guys better pray she don't lose because she will be better than what she is right now. And she's the type of person that's going to get so much better. In defeat, she seems like she's going to be just there's just nothing stopping her skill set. It seems like she's going to be able to elevate past what we see right now. And like you said, the age, if she don't run through everybody and get the belt, one little knockdown is only going to make her so much better against whoever's next. And that's just what's so good about somebody like Fatima Klein at 9-1, still showcasing that she's got that dog, she's got that skill, and she's got the hard work and dedication, and she's got the team to back it up too. I mean, New York, man. What the fuck are we talking about right now? These people are going crazy out here. So
yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah, most definitely that. Absolutely. I mean, it's also what you were saying about the loss. I mean, I think that really, if you track the career currently of Fatima Klein, coming in on that short notice fight with Jazz Davicius, losing that one, but that was up a weight again, short notice. Great loss to take
at elevation.
Early. And at elevation, exactly. All of those factors, great loss to take early. You know what I mean? For exactly the reasons that you're talking about. All of those things come into it to make her better. It's some fighters take a loss and they let it drag them down. Some fighters take a loss and they use it to elevate them and motivate them more. You see what you get out of Fatima Klein in loss. And, like you said, you better hope it doesn't happen again.
And what she saw just happen to Jasmine. I mean, what do you got to worry about? You just saw her get chinned and you took her to a decision on short notice at elevation, upper class. What couldn't you do if you couldn't be the one to go out here, get this strawweight belt and then go beat Valentina? I know the timelines aren't going to match up for that, but if you wouldn't be the one, I don't know who is at this point, because the age, the weight, the ability to match up with somebody up a weight class as well. It all factors in. I think she's potential to do something really, really great. And she looks like and sounds like she wants great things in this sport. So shout out her. She's been doing this her whole life.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Absolutely. And, the other big note that I had based on this fight that we just saw with Hill is that, not only the skill, but she is very, very strong for her size and her frame. Not just her height. I mean, she's not necessarily super tall compared to the other fighters in the division. I mean, she's tall enough, she's not short, but she's not, she's not noticeably larger that way, but she is very powerful for being as lean as she is. It shows in the clinch. She's able to muscle her opponents around. Angela Hill is usually the one that's able to do that. That's one of her better assets, is that if she's getting overwhelmed with striking, she'll clinch you up, try to get you to the ground. She can, try to just force you to the side side, change the angle, try to get the odd angle trip and all that. Like those are Angela Hill staples that she was not able to do. And because of that, you take away the range striking, the clinch is not working for you. Go to the ground, she'll have an answer there too. Angela Hill just had no possible method and route to victory here, and it's all because of Fatima Klein, and the power starts all of that off. So really, total package, as we've been saying.
Yeah, I love Fatima Klein. Shout out her. I'm really happy. Again, these are going to be the people that, when it comes down to her fighting somebody else that I decently enjoy, these are going to be the reasons that I think back, like, I got to double down on Fatima Klein, because this is what a an off performance is. Not necessarily off like she was performing bad, but this wasn't a finish, which is what we've come to expect from her. So you better expect better from her, because if you think you're going to get a decision out of her, and she's going for all these finishes in different ways, she'll take you down and she'll elbow you to death, or she'll head kick you, or she'll just get up and back spin fist you while she's just casually getting up out of a grounded position and just might drop you. Like, she's talented, man. Like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Well, so, Beeb does bring up the age of Angela Hill. What are we thinking here? We've been saying for a little while that it's probably about time for Hill to hang it up. I mean, she didn't drop the gloves in this fight. We thinking that we're going to be seeing another fight out of her? You thinking that she's going to be cut? What's the trajectory looking like at this point?
I actually think it begs a good question. When you watch something like this, do you think Dana and Hunter, whoever on the sideline that actually, write the checks, when they see that and they're like, oh, Angela Hill didn't put her gloves down. That's unfortunate, because she's not going to be back in the UFC octagon. Do you think that thought crosses their mind, like, ooh, you probably should have retired there, because we're not going to extend your contract? Who knows what the situation is? Maybe she has more fights available, but sometimes the UFC, they have that. Dana has that opinion, like, oh, Henry retired too early. He's an idiot. That's his own fault. Do you think he has the same sort of opinions when it comes to somebody who's carrying it out too long? Like, they should have retired, because Damon Jackson, I mean, you should have just put the gloves down, brother, because you ain't coming back, kind of deal. Whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's very much case by case, and someone like Angela Hill, who has given a lot to this organization. I mean, you can like or dislike like the checkerboard nature of the record and all of that. I mean, like, trust, I have plenty of feelings about the fact that she loses when she's supposed to win and vice versa. But she's been around for a very long time. She's always game. So I think that there's an element that plays in with that part of it. That's also probably why she's a good to the company in that regard. She does the desk analysis every once in a while. I think that they'll probably come to her behind the scenes and have the conversation, like, it's probably time to start thinking about what the next move is. If she says that she wants to keep going with fighting, then maybe they give her another one or two. They'll extend the contract a little bit longer, but I don't know how many fights left she has on the contract. Either way, though, there's probably some conversations that are happening to say, like, we need to start transitioning to whatever the next thing is going to be. So if you want to be on the desk, she could be out there like Mego Levy. She could be a roving reporter. There's a lot of options, is what I'm saying, for Angela Hill outside of active competition, but she has to be receptive to it, and that conversation just needs to take place. But other fighters, though, what you were outlining before, definitely they think about that. Yeah, for sure.
I think you're cooking, because she does have a pretty good personality. I wouldn't mind seeing her, doing some sort of position when it comes to the commentating or the desk analysis kind of deal. But I definitely, there was another thought that I had about that. Damn. And that was a pretty good one, I think. But either way, Angela Hill, shout out her. She had a good career. Oh, do you think she's going to get, obviously her time is coming. When the time comes, do you think she's going to get the tribute video? I mean, Karate Hottie got one, guys. I mean, the bar is not, set at a certain level standard, like the Karate Hottie is just somebody that I know is she's, when it comes to the hot women, she's not necessarily the one that I'd throw up there. People call her the Karate Hottie. That's the only thing that I know about her, really. So, and she got a tribute video. So if that means anything to anybody, that Chase knows nothing about her and she got a tribute video, then anybody's possible, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even really be mad at it, honestly. Like, again, like, because in my opinion, at least when it comes to the tribute videos, it's not necessarily about how great you were. It's about how much you give to the sport. That's, again, this is just my personal opinion. Other
Hmm.
people can feel differently about that, but yeah, in
Give
my
to the
estimation,
promotion or give to the sport?
well, I mean, that's that's what the promotion would feel. It's like, yeah, how much did you actually give to us specifically? But I would say to the sport. They would probably also say to the sport, but in the back of their mind say, yeah, to the promotion. But either way, I think Angela Hill fits the bill in both regards. So yeah, I wouldn't be mad at it if they gave her a nice little send off video and sent her on her way. At this point, I think it is about time. We'll talk about somebody else coming up very soon who you know I also feel that same exact way about. So, yeah, if Angela Hill, wants to stick around for more fighting, I really don't think that that's a great idea at this point. But figure out what the next thing is, and then just start slowly, making that happen.
100%. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Shout out her though. Long career. I love the comment. Low key, so much more of a dog than Anthony Smith. Kind of fair. Kind of fair.
Yeah, and so there you go. Then I think that tribute video has to be confirmed off of that, right?
100%. 100%. Pioneer wing, really.
There, there you go. Yeah, I saw the question about if she'll be in the Hall of Fame. I was like, I don't know about all that, but definitely tribute is, I think, the exact right level. Just give her that, and nice to know you.
100%.
All right, let's keep it pressing forward here. Pat Sabatini versus Chepe Mariscal. This was a fight that when we were watching it live, I was like, I was channeling my inner Chase Parton looking at this thing, and I thought I might have the same opinion about this one that you might have. So why don't you tell me what you thought about this fight?
That's an interesting way to put it, and I'm very excited to see what that actually means to you. Because the way that I looked at this fight, I'm actively looking at the screen. Couldn't tell you. I mean, I know Pat Sabatini got cut in the first round, and then it was very boring after that. And shout out to them too, because it's genuinely impressive to not have like a single exciting moment in a fight. Like, I I don't know. Like this, I talked about it before the fight started, or before the card started. I'm excited to see some of these people, but going forward, there are some that I am not looking forward to ever seeing again. And Pat Sabatini is one of them. He actually had a good performance in his last fight, so I don't know what this happened. I'll actually give him a sort of a pass because it's the one time that he's kind of been weird. Chepe Mariscal, though, it's like the third or fourth time I've seen you have an interesting performance where it's like, yeah, this dude definitely should get it done in a way that speaks to him, and then he just doesn't. Like, I don't know, that you would think this was a good dog pick because he's coming in at a close to the line. What does Vegas know? What do they not know? This is just coin flip territory. But then you get 30-27 by Pat Sabatini, like in the wrestling and the grappling, he just dogs you every position. Like, Shepe's one of these dudes that, like, now that I think about it, what were you ever really good at if Pat Sabatini did you in every way possible? Like, I don't know.
But
And
see, that's
landing
the thing.
40
He
strikes, like,
didn't
but
though.
go ahead.
No,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Nothing happened, but when it came to the wrestling, that's what happened. So,
Well, so you're right, and so I mean, look, again, I chalk this up to being a bit of a style clash between these two. Now, Chepe is an okay wrestler. He's pretty good with his evasions. That I think was very evident in this fight, and that's why I was very conflicted, certainly conflicted about the result of this thing, because as I said, it's a bit of a style clash. Pat, from the jump of this thing, doing what Pat does. Pat is a very, very skilled wrestler. His chain wrestling is very impressive. Like, he is good at moving from position to position and keeping control. However, Chepe Mariscal was negating that. He was getting out of the positions. Pat never got him into a legitimate submission threat, as far as I can recall. I mean, there may be one or two times where he was like close-ish to locking something in, but never got it to the point where it was like, oh man, that could really be a finish right now. Like, he really is in danger. You know what I mean? Like, it was like there were a couple of times where it was getting close, but didn't get to that point. So it's like all of the damage that Chepe was doing is round 3. Pat definitely won. Chepe was gassed out. That was a decisive round for Pat. Rounds 1 and 2, though, like the head kick that opened Pat at the end of the round, when he just decided that the round was over too early for whatever reason. He just sort of like dismounted and like, I don't know if he thought that the horn sounded or whatever, but he just started walking away, and Chepe's like, all right, I'll just kick you in the head then. That was good. He had a cut by his eye that was bleeding out pretty well. I mean, like, it was like every time that Pat was initiating a sequence, Chepe was able to get out of it and landed more damage. So that's what I was saying about channeling my inner Chase here, because I was like, if the damage is there and the wrestling isn't working, then rounds 1 and 2 conceivably could have gone to Chepe. I like, it was a 30-27. Obviously, the judges didn't see it that way, but I was very conflicted. And when I saw that it was a 30-27 across the board, by the way, all three judges 30-27 this fight, I was like, this just seems very off to me. At least not one round, not that first round with the head kick.
Let me maybe say it in a way like this. Maybe we didn't necessarily watch the same fight because like I said, I'm looking at the screen, couldn't tell you anything that I remember being interesting. So that when I'm looking at it and I'm just like brain dead, just looking at the fight happening. But in my mind, I don't remember Shepe, other than the cut, like he cut him and then he was bleeding a lot. The head kick, I don't necessarily remember. I don't think that caused a cut. Questionable. I don't know how to that one, but whatever. I digress. This one, when it comes to the not being able to do anything with the wrestling, it's because the striking is close. When you look at what was tallied right here, striking was close. Damage you can give it to Shepe, but Pat Sabatini had 10.5 minutes of control time with 7 takedowns out of 12. I mean that sounds pretty damn good to me, and that's what I remember seeing is Pat Sabatini just on top of Shepe, and but I don't know. I get what you're saying of why I should be on the other end of this spectrum because I normally would be, but maybe I just actually wasn't watching the fight. Like I'm literally looking at it, and it's just so mind numbing because Shepe is just. You guys talking about him being able to negate everything that Pat Sabatini was doing, brother. If all that you're able to do is negate and you're not offering anything back for him to negate, then he's only advancing the game plan on you. You're getting no game plan off except instinctual, I'm just stopping him from doing what he wants to do.
But I'm telling you,
In
the
my
numbers
opinion,
don't.
that's a yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
just the numbers don't equal up to what the fight was. I think really this was another instance of the optics, because I think that the problem is that the striking that was most effective was not big and explosive motions for Chepe, because when the cut that cut the inside of the eye, that was like off of a short range elbow or something along those
Mm-hmm.
lines. Like it was close range stuff. Pat he's sticky. He's all over you. Like he's if he's not on the ground on your back, he's in your face in the clinch kind of thing. So Chepe had to get the shots where he could, and because it wasn't at range, it didn't like visually didn't equal up to the judges, but like the damage should have done that. And I want to highlight CTE's comment here, a little bit long, but it was basically saying that it's the inconsistency in the judging that I'm trying to highlight with this one, because we just saw in the Almeida versus Volkov fight that that they did tally the damage over the ineffective wrestling. So like that, I mean, all I'm saying is that if you are going to go one way, or the other way and pick it, is what I'm trying to get at. Because like this seemed very much along those lines with what we ended up seeing out of the damage. Like we saw Pat wearing the damage. You look at them after the fight, Chepe was crystal clear. He was gassed, sure, he was exhausted, but it was Pat who was wearing the damage. It looked like effective damage. I'm not even mad that Pat won the fight, because the third round was completely his, and you could probably give at least one of those other rounds to him. If you go point by point, but like I'm telling you that there was more to this one than what these 30-27s would equal up to.
And here's where I'm actually going to show that I'm not delusional, okay? Because even I could tell you the difference from, Pat Sabatini doing nothing with the wrestling and holding him down, okay. But that's different when it comes to a fight like Mackenzie Dern and Virna and Volkov and Almeida, because Volkov and Mackenzie Dern both were offering things off of their back that was actually going to score something. I don't remember Shepe ever throwing one elbow off his back, landing a sequence where he's just like, he's squirming to get out, where he's, doing anything and everything to make sure that this is tough for the person holding them down. Mackenzie Dern, very good example of just spamming elbows. Just spam elbows when you're on the bottom. I mean, if it's not going to score something, it's at least not going to let them just rest their head on your chest. I mean, it worked for her. She's the champ now. Volkov is going to get another title shot here soon because of that performance right there. You can even go even further back to Kevin Holland and Gunnar Nelson. Kevin Holland was offering off of his back with elbows, and actually, when it came, these people were actually going for submissions. Virna not so much, Jelton not so much, but when it came to Gunnar Nelson, he actually was going for submissions with his grappling. Kevin Holland was able to negate that and then offer things off of his back. These are why he was able to win on the scorecards, even though it doesn't look like it optically because he's on the bottom. Shepe not offering anything off of his back like the three fights that I just named. I don't know. Pat Sabatini was just. We'll talk about it with the co-main and the main later, but like that's what Pat Sabatini did. I mean, he just did exactly what you saw the greats that have the belts right now do. So you can't be too mad because it worked. You should just know Diego Lopez knocked this dude out on the fucking feet in the first round. So when it comes to Shepe, when it comes to Joe Anderson Brito, these dudes are nothing to me right now because Diego, obviously, he disposed of this guy easily. Nothing else said. Everybody else is struggling 3 rounds with him, and they can't get him off him. He's so sticky. He's getting a 30-27 over people that are supposed to be very good. Diego had none of that. And I think that's just very key to people. You can give Pat Sabatini to Mosvar. There's 3 rounds right down. There can be a 5-round co-main event, and it's boring as hell. Diego, none of that. So I just think it's really key when it comes to the level that we have right now. Diego has elevated past these people. Shepe is still in the mixing pool of being mid-tier because you can't get past Sabatini. Same with Joe Anderson Brito, who has a win over Diego Lopez. You can't get past Pat Sabatini, my man. Like, what can you say?
Yeah, I think you make a good point about the activity on the ground playing a part in it. I just remember a while back you saying that there should be like some type of scoring for evasions if you're able to get out of the position, does that not count for something? And that's what I felt like in this a little bit more. But
10.5 minutes, he wasn't getting out of it, though. I mean, maybe if it was 7 minutes of control time and he stuffed, 12 takedowns and, he shot 20 times. Like,
now I can
if he,
feel that.
yeah. So I don't know. I think if you add in a lot of different factors, I think it might make your case. But I think right here it's just making the case for Shepe. It does him no fucking favors. This is not a good performance to even think that he should have skated by with. You shouldn't try to act like he won because it's only going to hurt him in the end. If he goes around thinking, well, I beat Pat Sabatini, mate, you just got 30-27 in a lot of people's eyes, and you're still not like a top ranked guy now because of that. Like, it's just, I don't know, bro. Like, when I think of featherweights, I think of a lot hotter prospects, and this dude is past the prospect era. He's just middling journeyman style, and I think that's just unfortunate for him. So,
Well, there you go. I mean, I see that a lot of different opinions in the chat about it. So, based on the conversation, y'all can take away what you want to go away with from that.
make sure to like the proper stream of the people whose opinion you like the most.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. But yeah. So I mean, again, I'm not even really mad at Pat winning this fight. Pat is again, I think that Pat really does deserve the praise on his wrestling, though. I mean, like, his wrestling is top tier. He needs to elevate himself to being a finisher with it a little bit more definitively. I think he needs to get himself to that point where it's like, if you're going to have that much control time, that you transition that into an actual submission. Again, we will talk about the co-main and the main. But either way, though, I think that this was a good performance for Pat in the big picture. I just think that the 30-27s don't tell the full story. We had the conversation about it. You take away what you want to take away.
100%.
Well, this next fight is a little bit more cut and dry here now, isn't it? Mr. Kyle Dawkins versus Gerald Meerschaert. As I had referenced earlier when we were talking about Angela Hill, there are some people who just don't know when it is time to hang it the fuck up. Gerald Meerschaert, for the love of God, for the love of all that is holy, Gerald, please retire, my man. Good Lord. Stop making, as a fan, as a person who has enjoyed your fights in the past, someone who has rooted for you as the main boss of the Apex, the ultimate top tier Apex predator of the Apex. You are no longer that. I don't want to see you go in there and get starched in 3 seconds anymore. This was a 50-second fight. You can't have this anymore, my friend.
Yeah, this one was really bad. I mean, what can you say? Kyle Dawkins proving us all wrong again. Actually, I mean, I took him for this one, but the last one, I'm not. You need to make me have a reason to believe that you are back in the UFC. Like, you know, if you've been out, if you've been in and you've been out already, and you come back, there better be a good fucking reason. And Kyle Dawkins is actually a really good example, and I think I'll bring his name up a couple different times in the near future. A good example of what using your second stint wisely could look like. And it's not like you know, he can't choose all of this to happen. It's not like he was like, all right, I want to get back into the UFC and I'm gonna knock everybody out. You know, maybe he thinks that, but it's not like he can, you know, obviously make that happen. And here, he made that happen once again. This is the second time in a row that he came out here and finished his opponent in the first round using his second stint wisely. And please, Gerald Meerschaert, get up out of the UFC. I don't care if you want to continue fighting. Go do dirty boxing and get colded. Go do anything else.
Real American freestyle. He needs to be somewhere where he cannot get punched anymore.
Yeah, 37 and 21 is just like when you see stuff like that, it's genuinely crazy because you know, people who are great, you know, we talk about the longevity in the sport, how it's not very long. People who are great don't have long ass careers, but the people who are just mid level, they could just go on for ages, it looks like. You know, Gerald Meerschaert, Jim Miller, when it comes to Jim Miller obviously isn't getting starched like this. Hopefully it doesn't have to happen that way. Gerald Meerschaert, though, brother,
Right.
he landed 0 punches.
That's the difference, right? That's we were having this discussion about like what makes a journeyman or like what would compel you to like leave the UFC of your own accord, try something else in a different promotion, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, yeah, a guy like Jim Miller who can still be, you know, it might be a little on again, off again. There are going to be guys that can beat him, of course, but it's like he will still go out there and have solid performances. He'll still jump Gilly and actually make it work. You know what I mean? That like that gives him the leverage and the value to stay around. These kinds of performances are where you got to draw the line at it. And what you were saying about Kyle Dawkins on the other side of the equation, he's following the Mason Jones example right now, and I'm loving it. It is fantastic. Exactly what you're saying. Coming back, getting better, sharpening your skills outside the organization to have a second stint that you can be proud of here and that you can build off of. I think you're seeing a prime example of two different angles of the line right now as far as
Mm-hmm.
Gerald Meerschaert and Kyle Dawkins. Kyle Dawkins, continue to build off of what you're doing because this is looking really good with the striking. I do worry once he starts getting into territory with guys that are not big, sloppy oaf kind of dudes, you know, because his other knockout was Michelle Pereira. But you know, we'll see what happens then. For right now, you can ride high on it. Gerald Meerschaert on the other side, please. Just it's time, brother. The one thing I did also want to mention with this fight, though, and we talked a whole lot on this show about the recent scandal as far as fight fixing. I'm not accusing anyone of that in this fight, but I did think it was a little interesting here that so Dawkins drops Meerschaert early, follows to the ground with strikes, then changes course to the Darce. It was like, this seems like something that Chase would pick up on. Like, bro, you were about to finish him with your hands, and then all of a sudden just sunk in the Darce for what reason exactly? I mean, it didn't seem like there was one.
Yeah, so people be out there getting paid, man. You always got to keep a look at those lines where it's like plus 1,200 for somebody like Bruno Fajeda to get a submission, plus 1,200. He goes out here and gets his first ever submission in mixed martial arts 2 fights ago, and actually gets 2 in a row. So that should just tell you something. Like this sport, it just doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist sometimes.
Yeah.
So
So I mean, like I said, I'm not actually accusing anyone of anything. I just thought it was kind of funny. It was also,
allegedly,
oh yeah, exactly. Well, I'm not accusing anyone of anything until actual word comes out, and then it's like, oh well, we had the conversation, didn't we?
yeah.
But then the only other thing about this fight, and then we can move on because there's really nothing to talk about. This was an instant knockout. But the only other thing was it was kind of funny when Herb Dawkins sinks the Darce in. Herb goes to check Gerald's arm. He's completely with it. He's not limp at all. And then after Herb checks the arm, he immediately taps.
I remember thinking like that was kind of that was shady business right there. That's where it came to me thinking it was shady. I remember that now because yeah, he had his arm and Herb lifted his arm and then he like pulled it back and I was like, wait, did he tap or did he like yank his arm back? I was like, that was a little fishy right there. I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, we've seen that exact scenario with Keith Peterson before, where he
Mhm.
literally pulled the dude's arm back. The arm was stiffed up, and then it bounced back to and he thought it was a tap. This didn't look exactly like that. He just kind of like shook it real quick, and then he like his arm was sort of like on it, and he just sort of like went like, you know what I mean? Like I thought it was
So
okay. It wasn't. It was not questionable to me. It was just a funny thing that happened, but still, the only the really interesting thing in this fight, I guess you could say.
I think Beeb is actually cooking the CJI event for Gerald Mearshart would be really cool.
Very much so, absolutely. Something again, somewhere where Gerald does not have to worry about getting punched in the face. He's still a great wrestler. He can still, he can still do great things. It's just not in this level of competition. And then as far as who Dawkins goes up against, I mean, it's going to be like that's. I think that right now you're jumping him over a lot of the middle of middleweight, but I don't think that it necessarily means he should be getting ranked guys just yet either. So whoever is right there at the, like right underneath that is kind of what I would think would be appropriate right now.
Yeah, Kyle Dawkins at middleweight. We talked about this with Serge Sakayev. I mean, there's hulking figures at middleweight. These are massive dudes who cut a lot of weight and they pack a big punch and they're very nimble for their size. Kyle Dawkins, I mean, this dude, he may as well be a heavyweight. Like he's just he just slugs around. Like obviously he hasn't been in much of a fight that I can tell you, but from what I see, doesn't look like the most nimble guy. Doesn't look very evasive. Doesn't look like he's going to hit you with a bunch of head movement. So when we have somebody who just bum rushes him and rugby tackles him, I'm going to be curious to see what happens then, because on the feet he looks fine. It looks very technical. It looks powerful enough. I mean, you're dropping Gerald Mearshart here. It's not changing the world,
Right.
The grappling I think is where it'll get interesting, because after the grappling, when he gets back to the feet, is he still going to be able to, put the pressure and actually finish people? Or is he going to just be scared because he's going to worry about the shots coming? I don't know. Is Kyle Dawkins a good wrestler? Chat, let me know.
Yeah, fair enough. Speaking of the chat, shout out to Farouk Ahmed coming in from India. Love to India, my man. Appreciate
Hell
you.
yeah.
All right, moving on into the prelims proper here. This one was a heartbreaker to a lot of us, but this was Malcolm Wellmaker versus the newcomer Ethan Ewing. How about this Ethan Ewing guy? We were talking about it on the Friday show. If you guys are not coming around to the Friday shows, you are missing out on some quality entertainment, by the way. Come around for the Friday free-for-alls with myself and Chase. Sometimes we'll have a guest on there as well. But we were talking a little bit about Ethan Ewing stepping in on short notice, very short notice, 48 hours notice to be exact. Also up a weight. He is the bantamweight champion, or now was the bantamweight champion of the A1 promotion, which is Uriah Faber's promotion out there in California. He was coming off of a fight where he got a knockout win 8 days before this fight. So this dude was coming in hot off of all of that, and what a performance for this guy on his debut on short notice in the UFC on the big stage at Madison Square Garden.
I actually, to start, I want to say people were wondering why this did not get fight of the night. I don't necessarily think this was a barn burner of a fight. It was a good fight. This is not something that I would hold in high regard as like, man, Ethan Ewing, Malcolm Wellmaker. That was one of the greatest fights ever. Nothing like that. But it was a very solid performance from Ethan Ewing and Malcolm. I thought it was a lot closer than the judges were probably going to give it. Like at the time, I'm like, yeah, I mean, you can't argue that Malcolm is going to win these. But it's close enough where like if you watched, that like this isn't a fraud check. Ethan Ewing, if he comes out here and gets chinned in his next two fights, okay. Legitimate fraud check that Malcolm Wellmaker could not be the one to do it out of all these other people. But if I don't see that happening for Ethan, I definitely see him probably going back down to his natural weight, which is unfortunate that Malcolm couldn't knock somebody out that was a weight up. But Ethan does have some pretty good skills. So if he goes back down to bantam, becomes pretty decent, who cares? Because Malcolm, he trained for a whole different type of fighter. There was a game plan set. You can tell now people are obviously wise to him being able to throw hook shots. But if you think about him having a whole camp and he had a game plan and now the game plan's out the window, all he did was go back to what he relies on is his striking, and you can't really blame him. That's what he's good at. But if you think that he had a good game plan for a camp against a different opponent, maybe there was actually more that he was willing to showcase in that fight. Maybe there was more to the skill set that we still haven't seen because, he's waiting for the proper opponent that has like some wrestling or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but the game plan was out the door. He tried to rely on his striking. It got him 3 rounds. They weren't necessarily, you know, rounds that were heavily favored for Ethan, but he was doing just enough advancing and pushing Malcolm back that the striking was close. He was winning, and he got a couple takedowns. That's all you really needed to seal the deal, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I think that this was a little bit better than maybe you're making it out. I know that you said that it's a good fight. I think that people thought that if there was going to be a fight of the night awarded, it should be this one. I'm okay with it not being if they did not give one out, period. But I do think that this was the best competition of the evening as far as like two dudes both somewhat even in the skills going at it and actually going for it. They both put a lot out in this fight. I think that you're definitely right about the game planning. That would be my best estimation as to why Malcolm didn't perform as well as maybe it was anticipated here, is because I think that Malcolm has a little bit too much reliance on the one shot knockout power. And I think that because he didn't know what he was getting into with this opponent necessarily, that he wasn't able to draw out the game plan to like make it last for all 3 rounds, because certainly by the third round he was starting to huff and puff a little bit. He was getting a little bit gassed there, while Ewing's cardio looked really, really good, of course, coming in without having to do a weight cut. Maybe there's something there, whatever those factors are. I think that there's a number of things that go into why this fight played out the way that it did. But all of that being said, I thought that this was definitely solid work on both sides, but I was very keenly aware that right after Ewing ate the first check right, I was like, okay, there's going to be problems for Wellmaker if this guy is able to just eat that and keep going. Because Malcolm it's the exact shot. It's what you've always said about Wellmaker, that he draws up from the hip, comes over the top with it. It's like he's shooting from the hip. That's exactly what he does. Like, and it was that shot to a T that puts 99% of his opponents out. It has put almost all of his opponents out, like off of just that one shot instantly. Did not do it for Ewing. I was like, okay, this is going to be more of a fight than he's anticipating. So that being said, it's like hard to have a firm strategy for someone that you can't game plan for, 48 hours notice, all that kind of stuff. I mean, maybe his team is in the back trying to pull up video like the night before, but bro's in the middle of a weight cut still. It's like there's a whole lot of that goes into a fight with these dynamics to it. All of those things being said, I thought that Ewing looked really, really good. I actually was agreeing with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was glazing the hell out of this guy on commentary. I was agreeing with a lot of his takes. I said that, he's moving well. His power looked really good. His cardio looked really good. There really were not a lot of like major flaws that I saw compared to what Malcolm was doing. And I think that he like, again, I don't know all of why it happened that way, but for what you got out of this, Ewan had Malcolm on the back foot a lot in this fight, a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah, shout out to B for disagreeing. Can't always accept and can't always be right, but I do kind of agree. 48 hours. I mean, it's not fraud check, but it's fraud check territory, and I think it's because I'm biased towards Malcolm Wellmaker that I'm trying to give him a little more leeway. Because if it was somebody I didn't like, he's a fucking bum. Get him the fuck out of here. Eduardo Moira, lost the third round to Lauren Murphy in 2025. That's a big thing to me. But Malcolm Wellmaker gets smoked for 3 rounds. I guess if I want to hold him to the standard that he needs to be held for him to get better, this is a pretty bad loss. You should think that I'm a UFC fighter and I just let somebody who's a non-UFC fighter walk into my home, whatever you want to say, and get it done. Some definitely questions need to be asked. I mean, especially with your age, what's going to be the better route to take? Like, are we going to try to, take some time off and work on some things? Or are we just going to jump back in here because we don't have, I'm 32 or whatever it is. It's not like I have the longest career ahead of me. Taking a loss now, it's a humbling experience, but it's not like it's not like you're 26 where you got till, at 29, you can come back and try to be better. You got to really hone in on what's going on right now, Malcolm. So it sucks that you lost. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and to that point, I think that I don't want to put the necessary blame on any one thing with this, but after the first round, the big note that I had was that when round 2 started, especially also considering now in hindsight that Wellmaker was going to end up gassing a little bit towards the end of this fight. Round 2, whether it was coming from the corner or from he himself, there should have been more of an awareness that the game planning needed to change. Because when you found out that Ewing was as game as he was, when he ate that shot in the first and was coming back with some solid knees at the end of round one, round two was where you needed to be turning up the offensive striking as opposed to sitting back waiting for the counters. Ewing was game. Malcolm needed to up the offensive efforts. And I felt like Malcolm was just not first with a lot of his striking because he's naturally inclined to be a counter striker and allow the fight to come to him, which has worked for him a lot of the time. So those types of things are, I think, the things that like you gain those kind of like fight IQ elements over time. But just to your point, exactly what you were just saying, now is the exact time that you have to be developing that. Like you can't just, like you can't say, oh, next fight I'll have that. It's like that has to be instinctual at this point. That has to come from a place that's a little bit deeper where it just naturally happens as opposed to a fire being lit under your ass or, like not being able to think on your feet in the moment. Like you have to have that ingrained within you that what is not working now needs to be adjusted for going forward, especially when you're between those first two rounds. Because by the time that you're between the second and third rounds, the entire fight is already, the dynamic has already changed. And you're looking at a third round under circumstances like that where you're going to need to finish it. And that's never a position you want to be in.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is unfortunate for Wellmaker, I'm not going to lie. But we got a decent fight out of it, and I think there's still good things to come from Malcolm. A little setback just means that they're able to give him another janitor to knock out, and we know that's what's going to happen. I mean, this was supposed to be what this was, but, you just got to move on. Life happens, things happen in life that don't go your way. You can't have the golden path to the belt, It, it is what it is, Circumstances weren't perfect, but Ethan Ewing definitely showed out, and, you know, definitely deserved a little bonus, which I think Dana did send him a little extra on the side.
Yeah, throw him something in the mail, from what I had heard about it. But yeah, the only other note that I had was, did you pick up on Ethan Ewing's nickname, which is potentially one of the most cringe that I've heard?
Okay, which one is it?
Ethan Ewing's nickname is the Professor Finesser.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just let that one sit in the air a little bit. Y'all can internalize that and draw your own conclusions. But when I heard Buff say it, I was like, what the fuck did he just say? Like I had to look it up, and I was like, oh wow, that's something. Okay, so anyway, shout out to the Professor Finesser. He went out there and professed to finesse.
I'll actually answer Beeb's question real quick because I don't really know because it is hard to gauge. Yes, he did come in on short notice and beat somebody who has multiple wins in the UFC, but you know, you gotta be able to give him some sort of can. Like you can't really throw him into somebody that's at, depending on what weight he goes to. If he stays at featherweight, doubt it because he didn't make featherweight. Like he was just catch weight like 140 whatever. I don't know why it says featherweight because I'm pretty sure it was catch weight. But if he goes back down to bantamweight. Which presumably, because these both are bantamweights. Now that I say it out loud, that's pretty stupid. But either way, what are the opportunities for him? I wouldn't say anybody close to the rankings yet. You got to give him just another contender series guy. Just I don't know, just match him up with somebody else because that's what Malcolm is, anyways. I mean, he's not somebody that's elevated past that level. He beat Chris Matino, who hasn't, this dude ain't been around in so long, and the fight before that was probably a contender series guy, and whatever you want to say. So Ethan, get him a contender series matchup, or give him somebody from Tough. If Nathan Fletcher wants to get his comeback, give it to Ethan Ewing. There we go.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Malcolm was supposed to be like elevating himself past that at this point, but of course now that all kind of gets thrown into a little bit of a jumble here. But yeah, as far as Ewing goes, he came in and made a pretty good statement there. I would say that it would be appropriate to give him maybe one level above that. So maybe like a contender series guy that has had like a win already would be okay. You know what I mean? Something like that, just to be like, all right, this guy came in on short notice, showed out, like, again, one step above, or if you're trying to build him off of that, then okay. But like, I think that he showed enough skill that like a decent level of competition is appropriate. But yeah, you don't want to necessarily like jump him up in a crazy way, not off of a win over Malcolm Wellmaker. It doesn't make sense.
It's not even about just what would you do realistically for his ranking. It's just about, we said it earlier, Ethan definitely stole Malcolm's hype. It's like we actually have somebody that people are paying attention to because so many eyes were on Malcolm Wellmaker that, it was inherently an underdog story, even though it wasn't an underdog performance. You know, Ethan Ewing came in here, and now people know like this is the guy that stepped up against Malcolm Wellmaker when that Aussie fraud would pulled out, didn't want to fight him. This guy showed up, showed out for 3 rounds. You know, I think you gotta cater to that. You gotta give him a performance that, you know, if his thing is striking, okay, if he's a striker, you gotta give him somebody that he can go knock out now. Or if his thing is, you know, the wrestling and he wants to get his submission, you give him somebody that is very susceptible to submissions. You get as many people thinking this dude has got some hype behind him as you can at this point, because he
True.
just beat your hype train, you know. So
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm with that. I think that all tracks. And yeah, shout out to Cody Haddon. Hope your foot heals up, buddy.
yeah, dude, hope your foot is feeling very good, very good.
Oh man, walking around on that Australian boot right now.
Mm.
Yikes. All right. Anyway, let's keep it moving here. Aaron Blanchfield fought Tracy Cortez on this card. What'd you think of Aaron Blanchfield, my man?
I I think this went just about. I don't know if you would agree, but I think I said exactly what I thought was going to happen, and I think close to what happened was good. I would say Tracy, her striking was a lot better than what I thought. You know, in this first round, I was very concerned. Like, wow, Aaron's striking is like levels behind where it should be right now. And that should probably tell you what happened with her and Manon. I mean, Manon was probably able to just destroy her on the feet. But Aaron is crafty, and Tracy is she. Listen, we can get down to the actual fight of itself, but the case is she's one of these people that don't fucking take her craft as serious as she can. She went out here, probably went on Ozempic, got the lip injections, did her whole Nina drama fucking tour, and now that comes out here and has a shitty performance and gets choked out. It's not even that she got choked unconscious. It's kind of a funny submission that happened because you don't normally see this angle of the submission, you know, where it's kind of an arm, it's kind of this head and arm choke. I don't know what the hell it was, but the fact that Tracy is like rolling over her is hilarious, and then she ends up tapping. Like, you know, she did that whole shit about Islam. Oh, I don't know who Islam is. You know, there you go. This is what you get. You put that on God too. And now you had a shitty performance. I mean, it should just tell you that you should be taking this shit more serious. Tracy Cortez had to go on Nina Drama and act like she doesn't know Islam for us to believe she's locked in. You know who's actually locked in? The people we don't even know who have a social media account, Aaron Blanchfield. Like, does she even get on Twitter? Has she ever wore makeup? I don't know. She went in here and fucking whooped her though. Like, and the striking, that was unfortunate because Tracy was doing very good in the striking, like very very good. But when it came to what I was saying about, she dropped some lbs. She was holding the hair on the scale, and that was her moment where she had to lose some weight. I'm telling you, Ozempic might be a part of it because she did lose a lot. She's kind of got a bigger head now. I don't know where it all went, proportionally, but she's a little skinnier, and she wasn't able to manhandle Aaron like I presumably was assuming she was gonna have trouble with, because she used to be able to have that weight bully effect when she was a little heavier, in my opinion. And
Well,
this one, Aaron was able to just use the skill that. And let me finish, and
yeah,
I'll let you go.
sure.
I said without the weight bully effect, she's going to have to actually use a lot more skill to make herself, better in this division. Aaron Blanchfield has the skill to back it up. That's why that's why what happened came. When they got to the mat, everybody's the same size. Deal is done. So go ahead.
All right. I mean, I didn't necessarily see exactly what you were talking about this like massive physique change of Tracy, though. It still seemed like she
Dude.
had the power in the legs. She still had the lower body that, looked about right for what she was working with before. I'd have to see a side by side comparison to like really understand exactly where you're seeing what you were seeing with that. But really, I mean, my notes are all pretty much the same, though. I thought that Tracy's striking is decent. She was landing some good shots in the first round. I was very concerned about Aaron choosing to stand with Tracy for so long because I was like, not only was the striking pretty decently powerful, not like, she's not have knockout power, of course, but she had pretty good accuracy. And what I would say too is that like Aaron she needs to raise to that occasion. Like it's we all know that some fighters have their strengths and they have the things that make them great. Aaron's primary bread and butter is going to be her wrestling and her grappling. That is an understood fact. But if you are going because if I don't know whether it was DC's his hypothesis or if it was something else. But DC had said on commentary, he was like, she might be trying to let her tire herself out, punch herself out a little bit, and then she's going to start wrestling in the second. Whether it was that or if she just decided to turn it up in the second with the wrestling, whatever that was, if you are going to stand there with her and strike with her, then you need to be able to do that. Like, you need to be able to do that effectively and not just get touched up the entire round, which is exactly what happened. Tracy took round one handily because of the 0 takedown attempts attempted by Aaron. So, I mean, like, she switches the path up, and then it ends up working out very well in her favor as expected. But that was my big takeaway, is that, yes, this was a very fine performance in the big picture for Aaron. And really also, it's like Tracy started kind of screwing herself when she went for the takedown in the second. And like, she kind of like took herself down almost, it was one of those types of deals. Like, Aaron just sort of went with the motion and, stayed with the clinch, like stood up into the clinch kind of situation. So like, Tracy sort of like allowed Aaron to get her game plan off, and then Aaron like snapped into gear with it. But like, you shouldn't have to have that happen. And if you're going to stand and trade, then you have to be able to stand and trade.
It just sucks because you like Tracy Cortez. Obviously she's a pretty woman. She's not a bad fighter, and she's decently entertaining at what she does. But when it comes to skill for skill, it feels good when you can set everything aside and you can look at two fighters on paper and just because you like Tracy Cortez. I mean, I like Aaron Blanchfield as well, but putting it all aside and just doing a very unbiased assessment and it working out, especially like this. I again, Tracy Cortez had a lot better striking than I was going to assume she would have on Aaron. That was something that I did not expect. But expecting Aaron Blanchfield to get it to the mat and submit Tracy Cortez, I mean, it's about as easy as it seemed. And Aaron Blanchfield, she's the one that did it, and I'm pretty happy about the pick. That's all that I really got to say.
Yeah. And I mean, really, just to reiterate what you had said, it was kind of an interesting finish, because it was like Tracy tries to get up, like she was kind of on all fours ish a little bit. She's trying to stand up. Aaron jumps on her side almost, like she kind of like was trying to get to the back, but she sort of was like on the side of her, gets the arms around the neck, and then Tracy sort of falls into the odd angle RNC. It's like it was, she sort of like not allowed it to happen, but like it was like, we'd say the handshake agreement. I don't think that she was necessarily consciously doing that, but it was like in the moment, like, I'm going to take you down and you're going to come with me. You know what I mean?
Well, and then, that's the thing that I kind of said about it too. And I'm not trying to say that Tracy, listen, when it comes to these betting investigations at Cash Patel, I am not insinuating anything. But for as hard as you would think that Tracy was working, for as much as she wanted you to believe it, she got caught really easily, and she was tapping a little early. She could have. Listen, I don't know. I feel like Tracy, if I was to believe that you had that dog in you, that sub right there, I would have been a little upset that you couldn't have rolled the fuck over. Like, you were literally getting dragged this way. Like, you could have tried this. You could have tried something. I've seen Kevin Holland do some crazy things. It's all about the attempt. If I see you squirming your legs and you're in a fucking guillotine, if you're on your bike, I mean, I can't really fault you. Borishev, this is another dude who'll get choked out, but he gonna try his hardest before he ever taps. Tracy Cortez, I better see spit gurgling before you start tapping, girl. You're supposed to be top of the competition. And Aaron Blanchfield did you in, and it was probably an indication. Like, I mean, I ain't got no fucking choice. Like, I'm gonna get choked out one way or another. It's either gonna happen here, or as soon as I turn the corner and flip out of this position, she's literally gonna have my back. And whatever you want to say, I'm being a little hard on her. But like Tracy, it all goes back to this. You want to be the social media fucking presence. This is what comes with the. You got to be that much better than you're about. Stick to modeling. Listen, people have said it. She can make so much money on OnlyFans, and she chooses to fight. So I would just wish you are better, and take it a little more serious next time. Don't be fucking with Nina Drama. Look at Pollyanna Vienna. Like, she sucks too. Like, it's all these people who think that they're just social media influencers. Like, you're not the top G. You're not Darren Till. Just give it up. I don't know. So.
Fair, yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I kind of had said similar. Like, I thought that I still think, especially now, that Tracy Cortez has a very similar career trajectory to Paige Van Zandt. I think that, it's a attractive woman. Oh, wow, there you go. Yeah, Beeb echoing it before I even could get it out. There you go. Saying the exact same thing. I mean, that they have very similar career trajectories in that, it's an attractive young woman who has a good amount of tenacity in the fight. Like, it's not like she goes out there and just like poses. We've seen these like freak show promotions that are just literally put on like lingerie fights or that kind of thing. She's an actual fighter. I mean, it's not like, you can't say that she's not in there like trying to fight. She was striking. She's trying to punch her opponent in the face. But there's levels to this game, and you got to know where in the stratosphere you fall. Erin Blanchfield is a fighter. She wants to win a belt. She wants to be top of the heap. She is an athlete first and foremost. Tracy Cortez, maybe not that.
Yeah, when you're in school and they're like, you're a student athlete. You're a student first and then an athlete. It's like, in this game, you're supposed to be athlete first, model second.
Right.
Like, let's calm it down.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. So, yeah, I mean, shout out to Erin Blanchfield, though. I still, even with the Manon loss, I do still see great things in her future. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be, title shot range just yet, but I think that her jumping up the rankings and at least going up to possible contention somewhere thereabouts, that makes sense to me.
Well, we got to see her against Jasmine now. Both people that lost to Manon. Let's go ahead and that's actually a good wrestling grapple, kind of matchup there. But yeah, Erin, unfortunately, since Manon is coming off of a knockout win after just recently fighting for the belt, she's kind of in her own stratosphere as of right now. I think Jasmine has to have somebody match up with her, and if it's not Erin or the next person that we see fight, I don't know who Manon's going to fight. It's definitely not going to be for that belt, I don't think. But I could be wrong.
Yep. Well, we shall see. But shout out to her for this one, because it was a performance that didn't necessarily feel like it was going to go that way until she made it go that way. So I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Up next was Roman Kopylov versus Gregory Rodriguez, the RoboCop. I said that Kopylov's stock drop has been as quick as it has been steep. This dude has really taken a bit of a nosedive, and it really all stems, in my estimation, from him being too inactive in these fights. You saw it in the Paulo Costa fight. I really did not see much of a difference in this fight, maybe a little bit more at times. At times, he had a couple of good shots here and there, but that does not win you a fight when you have a guy like RoboCop against you.
It's actually quite interesting because he's one of these fighters that he does his best work in a stationary position. If you're walking forward, he ain't doing nothing. And if you ain't, backing up, making him come to you, he's not advancing either. Kopylov is, I give him credit. He backed up a lot in this fight, and he was evading these big, powerful shots from Gregory Rodriguez. Gregory Rodriguez, of course, you see him, and you still can't believe that he's a middleweight. This is the hulking figures that I'd be talking about. When I say middleweight has hulking figures, it is Obama right here.
Yes.
So Kopylov, evasive enough, able to not get knocked out, which is kind of, I think, what I should have expected. I mean, he's a little elusive on the feet. He's very quick for middleweight, but like you said, just not active enough. I think there's an issue for him when it comes to somebody who's very threatening on the feet. He's not willing to put his chin on the line for that. He's very, like you said, very rangy, very powerful, but he's not willing to give one and take one. So I think that's the major issue with his game. Because he is a dog. He is a killer. Chris Curtis, that was a really good fight that he had, but I still don't see him with Gregory Rodriguez, man. I mean, it's hard to say that I'd put my face in the way of a punch of that guy, but that's the name of the game. You sign the contract. If you wanted to win, maybe you didn't. Maybe you were just here for a paycheck. I don't know. Cash Patel, start questioning. But if you were genuinely wanting to win this fight, you would have had to understand that that's the risk that I needed to take. I got to step in there and just destroy this dude, because even with Kopylov's style for being rangy and evasive and on the outside, he didn't even rack up points like a normal point striker could do on the outside. So he just did nothing. Like, that's just unfortunate.
And that's kind of my point, though, is that it's like, I don't think there's a human being on the planet that wants to go toe to toe with RoboCop. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, a non-starter for, 99% of the planet. Trying to take a punch from that guy is a death sentence. But that plays into the style that he has, trying to be crafty and evasive. But if you are going to play that game, or if you know that that's what is necessary, then you have to up the volume by 3 times what he was doing. Where's the kick spam? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I should be seeing you throwing kicks at all angles. Start with the low kicks to soften them up, get to the body, try to go to the head. You know, all 3 of the ranges. I should be seeing the kick stats going up and down all over the that side of the stats. But what you see is a lot of outside movement, and then when it was at close range, it ended up being a lot of times it would be RoboCop initiating the clinch, which was a little bit strange. And RoboCop was going for a couple of like takedown attempts in this that seemed odd. I don't really know why that was part of the game plan. It didn't end up
Odd
working.
Cash Patel? Question him too.
You know, we're seeing all kinds of weird anomalies, but either way, regardless of what the reasoning was, like one of the few times that Kopylov did have success was when RoboCop overcommitted to one of those early takedowns. I think that was in the first round when Kopylov used it to trip RoboCop, and then he ended up dead bugging on the ground for a while. I was like, that was terrible optics. But really, in the big picture, I think that RoboCop had a like kind of in a backwards way an okay cardio strategy, because we do know that RoboCop gasses a little bit towards the end. He looked pretty okay through all 3 rounds of this, so maybe him regenning on the ground was part of the strat. I don't know. All I know is that there are times like that where Kopylov could have picked up on the advantages where they presented themselves, and he did not do it.
Yeah, this one, Kopylov at the end of his fight with Chris Curtis, he had the translator say, "My left leg feeds my family." Brother, where was that left leg in this fight? You didn't feed no family with it, I don't think. And if you look at the chart on ESPN right here, look like you had a good deal of ass whooping on you with this red all over your fucking body. But it
For
wasn't
real.
it wasn't that bad. It was just an unfortunate performance for somebody I've seen good fights out of. I've seen him dog some people out. I've seen him go to war. It's unfortunate that Gregory Rodriguez, I feel we got slighted out of a performance out of these guys. Like if these were any 2 other people that they were fighting, we probably would have had bangers. But now that they're against each other, it's just unfortunate. That's just what sucks.
Yeah, I mean, Kopylov did have a few moments throughout this fight. Second round, he caught the kick, he landed some shots from that, and then he had a head kick, in there. I'm like, those were the times, like those types of things. If you had done that more consistently, you might have had more success, because RoboCop kept a very steady output in this fight. That was another big note that I had. Like RoboCop mixes up his shots really nicely. He'll go to the head, he goes to the body. Like he's keeping you guessing as far as what the attack strategy is going to be. And I think that overall, cumulatively in this fight, RoboCop just ended up taking it in a really sound and solid way. There was one time also that Kopylov did sting RoboCop in the 3rd round, but like it was kind of funny because like he sort of just like it was almost like the RoboCop aspect of him like had a little bit of like a short in it real quick, because he just sort of jiggled for a second and then just like snapped back to and was right back to work. But again, it's like those few and far between moments did not equal up to a full on performance compared to what RoboCop was doing. So good win for him, I would say.
I think the last thing that I want to know, it's just because every time I hear it, it's like really cool to think about that some people have titles like this. When people are out there and they're doctors and they're knighted and His Holiness. Roman Kopylov is a master of sport in hand-to-hand combat. I mean, that's a pretty epic title to have. Now, when I watch fights like this, do I think you are epic in hand-to-hand combat? No, not necessarily. But, it's a good title. It's a good title.
Is it as cool as RoboCop though?
No, but it's probably not as cool as the Professor Finesser either. So,
Beautiful callback, Chase. Nice work.
yeah.
All right. Yeah. That was, that's pretty much it, really. 30-27, 30-27, 29-28 for RoboCop. All seemed okay to me.
Did RoboCop seem like he was here to serve and protect?
Dead or alive, you're coming with him, brother.
There you go. Well, alive it was, unfortunately.
Yeah, for real. A good point. The only thing that was missing, I guess. But you were not kidding about that heat map, though. Look at how red he is, Roman Kopylov. A lot of
No leg kicks though. He's cool. He can walk it off.
word. Yeah. All right. Well, whatever the case may be, solid win for RoboCop. Let's move it on to another solid win over here. An unexpectedly solid win, in my estimation. This was Bo Nickel versus Adolfo Vieira. Bo Nickel coming into this fight with a point to prove. And as I said earlier in this stream, Chase, I do believe that we have a new mythical fighter that has been unlocked. It is striker Bo Nickel. This guy's striking looked pretty good.
It looked. I mean, listen. People want to clown on him for what he did against Val Woodburn. The striking, not in the sense that he knocked him out in the clowning way, but like his striking, they were like, come on, this dude's going to get chinned eventually if he thinks he can strike like this. What you fail to notice is that he had the confidence in there. It's not that he just went in there and swung willy-nilly, which he did. He landed all the shots. They were fine. They were accurate. But he had the confidence to go in there and do it. So when you get a fight like this, and everybody's expecting some wrestle fest, we're gonna get two wrestlers here. We're gonna get Bo Nickel subbing him. We're gonna get him out wrestling him. We're gonna get to see this is this is your Hani Barcelos at middleweight. This is what we need to see out of Bo Nickel. And then he has the confidence to go in here and butcher him on the feet. Not necessarily for the first 2 rounds was it that exciting. Obviously a good knockout can elevate a performance. This was a fine striking performance from Bo, setting up the head kick like we will speak about later, like Leon Edwards. Definitely a fun performance. His post-fight speech is disgustingly cringe. Also, flipping off the New York crowd is pretty good because you're the American Golden Boy. Like, what do you... Very funny. Just a lot of stuff happening here. I wish he would have done the Donald Trump golf swing again, though. I kind of like that emote, but...
True. Yeah, no, I mean, I was pretty impressed with Bo throughout all of this. I thought the striking was solid throughout most of it. Really, I think the other bigger note for me, if you recall, I had picked Adolfo Vieira to win this fight. This was possibly the worst that we've ever seen Vieira look. He looked atrocious in this fight. Like I said,
looked as if he was paid off cash.
I mean, all of these investigations are going to start adding up real quick. They better have a bunch of people over there at the FBI working on this. But
actually, not to interrupt you, but just
sure.
because I think it's a fun point to bring up, do you think there's an open request? They're like, what fights do you think have been written? Like, submit a form here. If there's just thousands of fights, they're like, check in on this. You need to do your job efficiently. You have to watch this fight, and we just send them all bangers. Like,
I mean, hell no, because if they did that, then they would be inundated with every fight ever from. I mean, they could go back into the records of this show and just listen back through all of our analysis and just pick out all of them. I mean,
true, 100%.
Anyway, back to this fight though. Where I just thought Vieira, it's like all of the improvements that I thought that I was seeing in him just out the window. Now, granted, a lot of those were coming against Tresean Gore, who looked absolutely terrible in the fight that, I was kind of referencing or basing a lot of my frame of reference on for this. But yeah, he was really just allowing all of this to happen. I mean, there was, so in the very start of this thing, people talking about the wrestling aspect of it, like this fight starts with a slam for Bo. Like he picked him up and slammed him almost immediately. So it's like there's a little bit of offensive wrestling going on there. I mean, like Vieira, he gets out of the control. He goes for some offensive wrestling of his own, but Bo just negates all of it. So like, I guess you could say that Bo was like doing the right things at the right times, perhaps, but I just did not see a Vieira that really like looked like he wanted to win this fight throughout most of it. I feel like when he started getting overwhelmed by what Bo was doing, it gave Bo more confidence. It was like the confidence meters were going in opposite directions. You know what I mean? Like Bo was getting more confident throughout the course of this thing. Vieira was just accepting a lot, especially up until, when the head kick came, of course.
Yeah, this one, shout out Bo Nickel for a classic performance. We ranted and raved that he was on the main card over some certain people, and then he got taken off. And if this was the performance that you would have had on the main card, honestly, Bo, props. You would have deserved to be there.
So do you agree with this statement that the Bo of the Paul Craig fight is a fading memory based on this current level of striking?
Listen, I'm not the one and done type of guy. If you want to be great, you have to consistently prove it. It's not just after you starch Rodolfo Vieira. I mean, if I told you this name on the street, you'd be like, who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that guy? Bo Nickel. You have to do it against named people. When Paul Craig comes up and you're the only person that can't finish him, that's an issue. That's talk about what you can do consistently. I mean, sure, you finished it off of Vieira. Sure, you finished Val Woodburn. But when it came to Paul Craig, you stood idle and froze and emoted on him. And then barely fucking, these are the things that you just, when it comes to named people, you got to be able to prove it. I don't know. It's just, Bo Nickel, do it again. I'm not saying go out here and head kick the next person, but use the threat that you have on the feet now to your advantage. Go back to the wrestling if that's what you want to do, because if you stay on the feet, brother, I mean, we're in middleweight. Again, hulking figures that are very fast and have good power and good accuracy. I mean, Paulo Costa on the feet probably does nasty things to you. But I need you to use the threat that you have on the feet now, get back to the wrestling, choke some people out, because that's really what it comes down to. I mean, you have when you look at the champion of this division, that's all he's going to do is just chase you down and maul you. And like if you can't get back to the wrestling and make sure that's your primary aspect while also, keeping a threat on the feet, you're not going to get very far, Bo. And Vieira is just one more step up the ladder, but you just lost your last performance. So let's get some more stuff going before we start riding the hype train again.
True. I can definitely feel that. Consistency is key, and I absolutely acknowledge that. So fair enough on that, but fair enough that this was a very clean walk-off head kick knockout for Bo Nickel. So very happy for him with that. And just to touch on what you had referenced with his post-fight, flipping off the audience and then getting snippy in the Octagon interview saying, love me or hate me, pick one. And then immediately saying, yeah, well, if you love me or you hate me, it's great either way. It's just like you kind of kneecapped yourself with that. It was very strange. I thought it wasn't I didn't think it was as cringe as a lot of people do. I see, Beeb saying disgustingly cringe.
You didn't talk about the cringe part.
Which was what?
Where he was like, I know we're on television, so I can't cuss, but frick you, mother frickers.
Frick you, mother frickers. Yes, okay, that actually was. I'll give you that. He should just curse, bro. Like, what? Are you kidding me?
Charles Radke needs to show him how it's done.
Legit, bro. Yo, seriously, he needs to go to the Charles Radke School of Swearing. That is true. So whatever. Fair enough. I did think it was funny that he, says one thing and then immediately kneecaps himself. But I guess as he had kind of said it, it's funny though because he's saying, I love it. I love it either way. I love the job, et cetera, et cetera. But that Bo Nickel is very susceptible to the conversation. And that is one thing I feel is concerning about him is that he's one of these guys. But Bo, get off the internet, brother. Seriously, just put your phone down, dude. Don't listen to this shit. Because if you start going down this road, you saw what happened to Ian Gary. Ian Gary is only now rebuilding himself after the shitstorm that he was in because he was on his phone too much and his girl was on her phone too much. We lost Chase. I don't know where he went. Oh, here's Chase. There he is. Hello.
Interesting. All right, we made it back. Sorry about that.
All good. I was just, you didn't miss anything. I was just saying that, Bo Nickel could be in the same boat that Ian Gary is. Yeah, and, with his girlfriend, his wife or whatever as well. That adds a whole nother layer to it. Not Bo Nickel, Ian Gary, of course. But anyway, Bo Nickel, great win. Stay offline. You'll be fine.
Well, I actually think there's one more thing I'll add to that before we move on. Is because I think you bring up a good point. Even in his most spectacular win to this date. I mean, he gets a head kick KO. I mean, we should have been, shooting rockets off to Mars or something at this point. Like, that's lottery ticket-esque, things going on. And then he gets out there and he shows his insecurity and how much his ego plays into it. It's like, you guys think that I suck? No way, I'm too good. And then the next fight, we're going to be like, dude, you could totally fucking knock out Drekus, dude. You could totally stand with him, dude. And then he goes out there and gets mauled, So, he definitely is somebody where if you keep an eye on the narrative, you might be able to see how he's going to fight. Because he's going to go out here and tell you, people keep saying I can't do this. I'm going to show you guys. We said he couldn't strike. He's just a wrestler. Now he knocks out Vieira. Now he's going to think he's the fucking shit at striking. Like, he's going to go out here and Brendan Allen is going to have to show him what the fuck is up. I mean, that's just how it's going to have to go. So.
Very true. I mean, yeah, definitely that. And also, the other thing too that's kind of funny about like the way that the perception is, if you think about this, Quillen Salkeld just had a very similar knockout that was like world electrifying. This was one of those ones that's highlight. I put it on knockout of the year potential list. Keep posted and make sure that y'all tune in for our year-end wrap-up coming next month, of course. Big show for this podcast. But, you'll hear all of them that are on there. Didn't cross my mind to even put this on here. I probably should. Maybe I will after this show. But my point in saying that is that, like, when you have the atmosphere that surrounds a Bo Nickel, something like that does not necessarily get the praise that it might have gotten from a different fighter. You know what I mean? And like you said, he goes in there and almost immediately takes his own hype away by now changing the narrative to this weird kind of, cringy sort of
victim blaming,
That's what you're exactly right. You're totally right. So it's like, Bo, you do yourself no favors with these things. You should really, if Bo Nickel really wanted to make a statement, he should have pulled a fucking Tommy from Warrior and walked the fuck out the cage,
That would have been fire. Yeah, no, I agree. It's not some. I assume everybody in their lead up. They have that thought process. What am I going to say if I win? What's going to be what I say? And Bo Nichols sat for months thinking, I'm going to tell them all that they don't know me. They don't know Bo. They think they know, but they don't know Bo. Whatever you
He's
want to say.
sitting there in his phone, getting things ready. He's got a little thing that he's got written down. He's
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell him, I'm showing everybody. It's like, dude, come on, man. Like,
And there was 15 other worse ways that he was potentially going to do it. This is just the one that he found acceptable to say, and it
true.
was awful as well. So
Yeah. So whatever. Hey, look, nice knockout, great knockout. I thought that this was possibly one of the better Bo Nickel performances that we've seen, especially in the strike. I thought his feints looked really nice in this fight too. I mean, like there were a lot of like technical aspects to the striking that I thought was very impressive here. Take that, run with that, leave the rest to the side, Bo. Take that, make that the go forward.
Beeb actually is cooking. Yeah, if he would have said something really, really good, like I'm not surprised, motherfuckers. That would have been really good. But no, he of course had to take away the hype that he could have had
Yeah.
and be cringe.
So that's what I'm saying, though. It's like just let it settle now. Like let it be a highlight. We're gonna come into the next fight. That'll be on your pre-fight package. Everybody's gonna see that. They're gonna remember. We'll bring it up on the year-end wrap-up. Just let that be the narrative.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So before we get into the next fight, this was the point in the evening where a little brawl broke out in the crowd chase. You hear about Dylan Danis getting into a little bit of a scuffle with some fellas from Dagestan.
I did hear about this. I did see the videos. I wasn't able to. Unfortunately, the videos that we got to see, and maybe I'm just not able to pinpoint, fight sequences when there's 30,000 people surrounding them. I didn't get to see too much of Dylan Danis getting punched as much as I thought I was going to. I saw him on his back in guard. Kind of funny. Ali Abdelaziz was there, I think, too. I saw his big old clown shoes. Somebody said he's wearing Sonic's shoes, which was really fucking funny because, man, that is so true. But the fact that it was John Pork was also in the encounter. It adds to the mysticism of him. He's everywhere that you think he's not. He turned that hat backwards and he went in for his sucker punches on Dylan Danis. Some people. And by some people, the one person in particular that I think is funny to mention. So if you remember the Zach Pauga dude, he made a comment about the sucker punch, like, I know it's Dylan Danis, but we should have, if you want to be a man about it, he was having that whole debate, but it was just kind of funny. So stupid in-house event. In-house extracurriculars going on in the arena. So shout out to Dylan Danis for always being a spectacle, I guess.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about here, Dylan Danis apparently was down on the floor of this event. He was hopping around, from seat to seat, different sections. He was, in one section with a couple of people. He moved over to a different one. He was trying to kind of navigate to get around to some people that he wanted to instigate some, arguments with and this and that. Apparently went over to the Dagestani constituency and had some choice words about their religion. He also apparently showed an AI video that I won't necessarily describe, but it was...
I don't know about this. You're going to have to describe
Okay,
it.
I'll describe it. It was apparently it was an AI video, I believe, of Islam and Ali Abdelaziz kissing each other.
Classic.
Yes, and actually the AI in it, pretty good AI, I have to say. It looked believable in a way that would be offensive. I can certainly understand the offense there. But the point is that Danis, from all accounts that I have seen at the very least, was the aggressor in this situation. That being said, the Dagestanis rolled out 10 deep to jump this guy. So make of that what you will, because it's like, yes, is Dylan Danis an asshole? We know that absolutely he is. He is a blemish on this sport as far as I am concerned, and not even in a way that's like entertaining / bad. I think he's a net negative personally, but that's my personal opinion. You can feel however you want about that. That being said, though, 10-on-1 or 10-on-3 or whatever it ended up being, that's also not a great look to me. So I think that there's a little bit of fault to go around here. Either way, Dylan gets kicked out. The Dagestanis get kicked out. John Pork, as you mentioned, one of those Dagestanis in there throwing hands. Dylan Dennis gets banned from UFC events going forward, and also apparently had put down an $80,000 bet on Jack Della Maddalena to win. So Dylan Dennis took a lot of L's that evening.
That is classic. But if you guys think back, this is not the first time that Dylan Dennis has been involved with the Dagestani Brotherhood. If you think back to when Conor and Khabib fought, speaking of, the jumping and the sucker punching and things, I mean, we had, 15 people trying to jump in the cage at that point in that fight, and Dylan was in the crowd, obviously with other Dagestanis. So it's not an unheard of thing, but Dana White admitted that he knew that Dylan was in the crowd and that he's not going to be allowed at UFC events again. And that has me thinking that all Dylan Dennis has to do is get one of those little fake glasses and the mustache thing, and he could just walk right in, and nobody's going to fucking care.
That's legitimately how Jake Paul went to Noche at the Sphere, if you recall. He wore a disguise and got in just fine. So, because apparently, I guess he's banned or thought he was banned anyway. But anyway, regardless,
wouldn't that be hilariously stupid if you showed up to an event that you thought you were banned in disguise, and they're like, "We don't care if you're here, dude."
I legitimately think that was what happened. Actually, is that he thought he was banned for whatever reason and was not. But regardless, Dylan Dennis, like you said, this is a long history with him and the Dagestanis. But L's taken on his side, and I guess that's really the end of the story. What else is there to say? There was actually, I will say this though, and if we do have the time, I have a very busy week for the rest of this week. But if there is time, we did get a request to do a little extra stream of watching some of the footage of it and maybe reacting to it. So if there is time sometime this week, perhaps we might do something like that, but no promises on that.
Since we want to talk about the crowd and what they were doing, there was actually another fight in the crowd. This was up in the higher levels. And, there was just one part of it that I wanted to talk about because, I thought about this guy and I'm like, let's be better. So there was a fight going on in the crowd, and there was a bunch of people trying to break it up. And then one dude from the fucking back comes up and just starts hitting the people that are like trying to break up. It's like, this is not your moment to feel involved. Like if you see a scuffle happening, don't let the peer pressure get to you. You don't need to go run in and punch people who you think are involved. Like, I'm watching the clip and I'm like, why did that dude start getting punched? Like he was just like moving his nachos, like, and then he starts getting, what are you doing? Like, can we not be animals in the fucking crowd? Like, come on.
Do you remember when we were watching KO and there was the scene where he's in the nightclub and then he just like started fighting with one random guy as he was going up the stairs?
Yeah.
That's what this sounds like.
Yeah. It was pretty wild, whatever,
Yeah. Well, that's New York for you, I guess.
True facts. Yeah.
So anyway, that's there's your little extracurricular fighting. And the other last little minor bit that I had that I thought was funny is that apparently somebody updated John Pork's Wikipedia page to say that he got a TKO finish of Dylan Dennis at UFC 322. So
there was also a really funny video that Jorge Masvidal uploaded. He's like, he's sitting with a couple other celebrities. He's like, I'm here with Dustin Poirier. I'm here with such and such. And Dylan Dennis just got knocked the fuck out in the crowd. Like, it was really funny.
Well, apparently he had said that it was on site if he had been sat next to him. So I don't know what their beef is. I guess they got beef as well. But that was why Dylan Dennis was like moved over to somewhere else, I guess, or had been sat somewhere else. Whatever. Anyway, can we move on from this dumb shit?
Well, yeah, we got a longer fight to talk about.
Yes. This is a very important, very, very in-depth fight to talk about here. Benoit Saint-Denis versus Beneil Dariush. Dariush, of course, missed weight by 1.5 pounds. What the hell happened in this fight exactly, Chase? What was this?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really... Sometimes you see strikes that hit people's heads, and you just look at it and you're like, how could that have... I've seen people eat flush shots to the face. I've even seen that particular fighter eat flush shots to the face. But the one on the top of his head is just like lights out. He falls face forward, like folds like a lawn chair. And it's unfortunate because BSD is the type of dude who we know a war is coming if he gets it. And Beneil is just unable to give a war at this point. I mean, you literally saw an old man deteriorate. This fight It started out, obviously we got some dirty boxing instantly. Like these dudes went head to head and they got in the clinch and they were just throwing some. If you remember the Don Fry clip versus the big old
Hung
Asian
Man
guy,
Choi.
this is what this looked like for 16 seconds because that they were into it. And then BSD lands a shot on the top of Dariush's head. Dariush's face down. The way that he fell was kind of like Justin Gaethje against Max Holloway. He just falls straight on his face and slides forward. The funniest part about it is that Beneil wakes up and is flustered. He's mad about the stoppage. It's like, dude, I know you don't know. Calm yourself. You
Right.
have been unalived basically in the cage. Like, holy shit.
Yeah,
Crazy.
no, I mean, it's hard to say that it was that level of engagement, though. Again, this is a 16-second fight we're talking about here. Beneil landed 2 calf kicks. BSD clocks him with a left hook to the ear. Beneil goes exactly like you said. Some people take hard shots to the face. Some people's faces take hard shots from the mat.
Yeah.
That is what happened here. Beneil just straight down, face planting on the mat. One more shot to the side of the head flattens him out. Was game over at that point. And yes, it was pretty funny for Beneil to be like, "What the hell? Why'd you stop it? What do you mean? Why did you stop it, bro? I mean, you were donezo. I mean, like
Yeah.
you could have taken 17 more shots if you, like this is always the whole debate that people have about early stoppages. It's like, would it have been appropriate for Beneil to take 17 more unanswered shots? Because that's exactly what would have happened.
Yeah, he would have felt justified in his concussed state if he would have got extra shots. Like, I did my best. He let me try to get up. It's like, no, dude, you were prone. Like you're literally laying down on the mat. Like, and I don't know. So 16 seconds is all this amounted to. Benoit Saint Denis with the rejuvenation of the hype train. I tell you, this dude. You want to talk about what Moicano did to him in one round? The thing that I will hang my hat on and say is like he wanted to continue fighting, guys. Let's not overcompensate what Renato did. He did do the work, and I do appreciate that performance. That was crazy, but Benoit wanted to he wanted to continue going. He is a dog, and and Beneil is just this is one of those MMA triangle things. It's like Renato can beat BSD, Renato can lose to Beneil, but BSD can just murder Beneil in 2 seconds. Whatever. Who
Yeah,
cares?
the MMA math does not add up as often is the case, but either way, yeah, like you said, Benoit Saint Denis right back in the conversation here, in a crazy way. But I mean, good on him. Obviously, I don't think anybody ever questioned BSD's power. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of questionable things with some of these performances. Power was never one of them.
Well, I think the thing is, it's not about the power because, like, the head kick that he had against Matt Favola, very cool. I mean, power is different because obviously he was literally loading up a kick compared to a punch. That's a little different in my opinion when it
Sure.
comes to punching power,
Yeah.
obviously. But BSD is, in my opinion, when I think of BSD, I'm like, well, that's a French. He is a striker, but he's got the marauder style where he's striking just to get you close enough where he can start grabbing your legs and throw you to the mat, and that's where I think. So when it comes to BSD, I think of a French grappler. I know he is a striker. He's a little bit of everything, but a French grappler just put Beneil's lights out and left him face down in the mat. It's just the optics of that. It's like Jesus Christ, 16 seconds is all this dude had. I know what we talk about the people that are good strikers that Beneil goes against and he always fucking loses. You look at fucking Armand got unalived. Charles is not again. This is a Brazilian grappler. It comes at the Marauder style, just like BSD, where he's using the striking to get close enough. But Beneil gets killed against that dude as well. So it doesn't surprise me that Benoit. Geez, these names are just fucking killing me for a second. It's no surprise to me that BSD was able to win this fight, but the fact that he knocks him out in 16 seconds is very, very surprising to me. I'll tell you that. So
Yeah, most definitely. It wasn't expected for sure. I had said that there was potential for this to be a long, drawn out, real clinch heavy, grindy sort of fight with the way that Dariush generally fights. But I do think that this might be ushering in a meta that I have been kind of hinting at for a while, where guys who miss weight I don't think it's an automatic advantage anymore. I think that what you're seeing a lot now is weight cuts and different elements that are going into these weight misses that equal up to a compromised fighter more times than not. It used to be that guys who came in overweight, and now I'm not saying that it's going to be all the time, obviously. I mean, there are going to be guys who just blow off the weight cut and then come in with this crazy advantage and win the fight. That will still happen. But what I think you're seeing a lot more, at least recently, is these guys who are having problems in the weight cut to the point where it affects them in the fight. Now, I mean, I don't think that the weight cut necessarily equals up to getting punched in the back of the ear. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't necessarily all equal up there, but we have seen consistently time and time again recently in recent memory where these weight misses are not the advantage that they once were.
Yeah, 100% agree. But shout out to BSD, man. He was able to get himself back in the fucking picture, man. I really do like this dude, you know? If the first fight that I ever saw of him was the head kick against Favola, but that wasn't a very long fight either. So then we get, the fight with Dustin Poirier, and it's like he has staff, and then he has a good round, and then he gets smoked, and then he comes back, and then he has the Renato fight, and it's like the lows that I've seen for him, they've been pretty low, you know. So the fact that he's on his way up, it's like we literally can only go up from here. Like, you got smoked in one round by the dude that lost to this guy, and you beat him in 16 seconds. I mean, it don't get better than that, I'll tell you. So shout out to BSD.
Absolutely. He's a soldier through and through. And I thought it was very cool that he had some of his French military people in the crowd cheering him on. He brought them over to the fight. And a couple of guys who apparently had lost limbs, fighting, for their country. And, very cool of him to honor his fellow soldiers in that way. So good guy, Benoit Saint Denis, it seems like.
All tragedy aside about our fellow amputees, because shout out to them, but I wanted to say he brought his military group along, probably just like Tommy did. Were they singing a song and saluting when he walked out? I'm not sure. But.
True. If they weren't, they definitely should have been. And
true.
Yeah, that was the only thing missing over here. So.
Mm-hmm.
But good deal, man. Good for him, and yeah, Beneil Dariush. I think I don't think anybody would be too upset if Beneil kind of shuffled off.
Yeah, true. He's not that old, guys. He's only 36. Remember that. Come on,
exactly.
It's the gray hair. Let him get jet black, and he'll be fine.
It's a true statement, regardless of him getting knocked out. Okay.
Well, actually, I brought it up. Whenever somebody gets knocked out in an old age or they get finished, the only thing that you hang your hat on, I said this, it's the age. Like, that's all it comes down to. And in your mind, if you're betting on Beneil and you watched him get flatlined at 16 seconds, there's no other thing that you can say. It's not like, well, he just had an off night. Oh, it was the weight cut. It's like, no, he's an old man with gray hair. Like, that's the fact of the matter there.
God, Renato Moicano and his hair dye are very happy about this conversation, I think.
True.
But, either way. All right, let's move on to the next one here. Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. Man, this Carlos Prates guy, huh?
I think one. Let me just straight off the bat. When it comes to the fighting nerds, I've been very adamant that this is the one. This is the guy right here. This is the one that you should be watching because he's gonna be the next level. He already is. When it came to this fight, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who would hang their hat on saying Leon Edwards has never been finished on the feet. He's that good. He can take anybody anywhere to any, whatever you want to get. And he finished Usman in the 5th round, whatever you want to say. And he took, and in the rematch, he did very, very good. But when you have somebody like Carlos Prates, who is just a fucking Chad, I mean, you can see the different mindsets in this fight. And I think this is what's so key. You have a fighter who clearly is using the score set to their advantage. He gets the back and then he just peppers in shots because he knows the judging they literally have to record that. Like, that has to be strikes. Those are tallied up. He has taken his back. Now he's got control time. He gets a takedown. Carlos Prates is one of these dudes that knows you're not going to finish me in this position. Once we get back to the feet, you're screwed, and the judges are not going to be able to save you. And it's just absolutely perfect that it happens to somebody that we don't necessarily like too much. I mean, I'm going to say but Leon Edwards getting knocked out is probably one of the greater hate watches that I've seen. Comes up close to the Bo Nickel one against RDR, but he redeemed himself. This one right here, shout out Carlos Prates, man. Jesus fucking Christ.
Well, Obviously, he is the man. I don't think that there is any denying that. What I did not expect is to see Carlos Prates turning into Kevin Holland before our very eyes with all of this jaw wagging he was doing in
Hmm.
this fight. That I was not, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. I say, and I even said it on the watch along. I was like, look, it is visually, yes, it's very entertaining to see Leon hanging off of his back and Carlos Prates making a face at the camera like, yep, I'm just as bored with this as you guys are, that type of thing. Yeah, it was entertaining. But what I had said in the moment, I was like, okay, but you need to win this fight now. Then he went out and did it, though. So I was like,
Yes.
all right. I mean, what else can I say then? As I said, I'm not a super big fan of that aspect of this fight. That said, though, I mean, really, I think that he did almost everything right. Like, he allowed Leon to do the things that Leon was going to do anyway. Leon was out there trying to throw the punches. He was kicking low. I was like, you're doing the right thing, start taking the legs out of him a little bit. Leon goes into the clinch. He's like, he wasn't having it or whatever, but like still he went through the motions because he had to do it. Leon gets his back. He's sitting there waiting for that to stop. I mean, like it was like all of the things that Leon was trying to do. Prates was flowing with it. He might have been talking at him. He might have not been happy about it. I also want to mention that Keith Peterson broke up the clinch very quickly. I was curious if that was to do with all of the talking, because I don't know if that influenced it at all. If it did, that should not have happened. But again, that's a little bit of a side point. Either way, my point with Carlos Prates is that he went with what he was given in a way that was very appropriate for the fight he was fighting. Got the moment that he was looking for. Finish the fight with it. Can't be mad at it.
What I think is key about this one, and this is where I think Carlos Prates is deadly, is because Sean Woodson is the same way. These dudes are legs for days. Like, they just have long legs. The arms are just as long too. And so when you have Carlos Prates in the first round, Leon Edwards, his guard is high. He's waiting for the strikes. He's waiting to parry. Carlos Prates is not throwing. He's not in the first round. He didn't have a very jab or straight heavy game plan. He's just rocking a little hooks, doing a lot of low kicks. The moment Leon lets his hands down and opens up, that's when he started blasting the straight right that literally just dropped him on his fucking ass. Like, and go ahead.
No, I was going to say, actually, it wasn't even that, though. What was really impressive about it, and I'm glad that you had said it that way, though, is that it wasn't, he still had the guard up. He snuck the straight under the guard. That was
Mhm.
what was beautiful about it, because you're right, he keeps the high guard. The hand, it's like the hand was right on the side, like where his temple was, and he just sailed that thing right up and under it to catch him on the chin with it. It was really impressive that he was able to get that angle.
Yeah, I love Carlos Prates. If anybody was going to be able to finish Leon Edwards, I mean, obviously, I had so much confidence in Carlos Prates. There was a lot of people. Again, people would hang their hat on Leon never being finished, but Carlos Prates is somebody who he's just that good. When it comes to finding the strike, he can do that. And when people talk about what happened with Ian Gary and Carlos Prates, I genuinely think, from what I see, from what he's been able to do after and what I see in that matchup, I genuinely think that he was conserving for a fifth round finish or a late finish in that aspect. I don't think this was 100% him showcasing everything that he can early, because he was playing the long game. Ian Gary was able to survive and able to get that win, but in a different situation, he might have got that late finish. Yeah, when a 3-round fight comes, Carlos Prates is all gas, no brakes, comes out here and gets a finish. And against somebody who's never been finished in the way that he did, dude, he had Leon Edwards smiling to get knocked out. Like, that's how crazy that knockout was. Like, the dude's face was registering a different emotion at the time. Like, craziness.
Yeah.
Love Carlos Pratt. Love some CP.
How can you not? But yes, no, I mean, what I had said about Leon is that Leon has already completed the arc of this sport. He went on the unbeaten streak. He attained a belt. He defended a belt. He lost his belt, and he is on the backslide now. He has done all that there's the hero's journey when it comes to MMA. He has completed his hero's journey. Carlos Prates is on his own hero's journey now. It's just a passing of the torch, as we will see with a lot of these fights in the welterweight division. We saw a huge shakeup of this division almost throughout all of the rankings of it. This is just one of those.
Yeah, I'm just very, very grateful that Carlos Prates is going to continue to be in the win column. I know that probably means that we're going to get less likely finishes from him, but he is so talented that I think that the possibility for finishes, even at this high of level, I think they're still there. and that's just really good to see. We'll talk. I think I even said this during the fight after this happened. I said the fight that I would really like to see if JDM was to lose, I would like to see JDM versus Carlos Prates. I think that is a striker's paradise. To be fair.
I agree. That would be a great fight. I like that a lot, actually. I do. The only other thing that I had for this one before we move on is I was just curious about how much the jawing at Leon got under his skin, because we do know that Leon is susceptible to emotional rattling. That's something that Colby Covington actually did pretty effectively, if you recall the press conference before their fight. I mean, it didn't seem like Prates was necessarily going at him in a personal way. It just seemed like he was like, "Hey, no one wants to see grappling, no one wants to see clinching right now. Like, let's not do that." So I don't know if it really played all that much of a factor, but it was a note that I kind of just had in my mind because, like I said, Leon is a person who, even though he tries to keep a pretty calm demeanor, you can tell that underneath that if you jab him hard enough, he will react to that.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, and if you are a person who bases things like that, if you are the one who knows that Carlos Prates mentally, that's a fortitude right there. Somebody who's 23-7. I mean, he's got the confidence of somebody that's never lost, and that's very key. Some people we might see that with Jean Silva. Jean Silva might never have the confidence again. And who knows? But Carlos Prates again, somebody who's never been finished, and that's multiple people that this dude. Li Jingliang, never been knocked out, gets knocked out right on the spot. It's this dude he's living his own journey, of course. Leon, he became champ, lost the belt, now he's on his skid. Carlos Prates, he's still living the journey that he has. He's still continuing a story. It's not like we're writing him off yet. We are going to continue to see great things from him. And out of all the fighting nerds, I mean, Jesus Christ, I pray to God this is the one that continues to do good things.
Absolutely. The nightmare haunts on, I would say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if Leon Edwards in defeat did the things that you expected him to do, I think that this person coming up did not. And this was an interesting element of all of this. This is Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. Brady made the conscious and insanely unwise decision to try to stand with Morales and pay dearly for it. But one thing that I did notice was that Brady did have both knees braced up. So maybe there's more to this equation. I would have thought by now we would have heard if he was going to come out and say that there was an injury or some kind of compromise going into this fight. Either way, regardless of what the reasoning was, what we saw out of this fight was Sean Brady trying to have a striking affair with a murderer, and that coming up in a very bad outcome for him.
I just remember saying, the people would tell me, losing to Bilal wasn't that bad. No, it's not losing to Bilal. It's getting TKO'd by Bilal. Like that's where you got to understand it's bad. That's a dude who literally has never finished a person in his life, and he gets a TKO against you, and you're the second ranked dude in the world. Just didn't add up to me. Michael Morales, again, I could see the cases of why you wouldn't believe in him just instantly being that guy. 18-0 at the time. Something's got to give against the number 2 ranked guy in the world. Why is Sean Brady fighting down? There you fucking go. Why? I mean, the dude was just never that good. You were talking about passing of the torch moments just a minute ago with that fight, mate. This dude never had the torch. I mean, he's not. Listen, number 2 ranked person, but for what reason? He finished Leon, but I just saw Prates do the same thing. We know Leon is not that fucking good, guys. I've been telling you. I had Brady in the Leon performance, so I'm not trying to act like I'm a hater against Brady. I just did not see him being able to take shots from a very tall, rangy striker that has power. If Bilal Muhammad was able to make you quit in the cage on your feet, like, I don't know, dude. And I'm glad that it worked out this way, because it shows to prove that, like, bro, if you get number 2 ranked and you ain't done fucking, I don't know, bro. It just has a bad taste in my mouth that the number 2 ranked guy comes in here and gets his head wobbled against Michael Morales. Like,
But that's
and
the thing. What I'm saying though is that he didn't do the thing that got him to that position is the problem. Like all what you're saying, that he was never that good. He was that good at wrestling. He did not try to do that in this fight in the slightest. Not even after he got rocked. Like this is the thing about this fight. So another quick one here. This is a round 1 TKO here, full on knockout. But either way, he gets touched up and starts getting wobbly off the first exchange. Off the first time he gets touched, obviously we know that Morales has scary power, but he did not attempt any kind of level changing at that point. Morales continues to be calm, waiting for the next round of it, gets it, and then still no panic shooting, no anything. I was like, dude, what are you waiting for to do the thing that everyone knows that you are good at? It was like he just abandoned plan A without there being any reason to abandon plan A. He never tried to enact plan A.
I said this, and I've been, it goes back to the Contender Series with our guy Martinetti, and then the Chilean guy that trains with Brandon Moreno the next week. These South American guys that have these padded records that you question who they beat, how they got 18-0, 17-1, 16-0, things like that. You could keep questioning all you want, but you better just start believing that these guys are special. Because, I don't know if it's just the talent level is just elevated when it comes to South America compared to, when you look at a regional guy and he's 10-0 and he's been in these promotions that you've never heard of, but it's like somewhere, in a region that's not as talented, I guess, as, Latin America. I don't know.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
I don't like, sure, I guess. I mean, like, you can chalk up whatever you want to apply to Morales as to why he is great. Those things are all probably very true based on what we have been seeing out of him. But again, the emphasis that I am placing on this fight was Sean Brady not doing the one thing that he is known for and known to be good at. It's very similar to the Aaron Blanchfield fight we were just talking about, where Aaron Blanchfield was standing with Tracy Cortez, and it was like, why are you doing that? Now, she made it to the second round in order to change course. Sean Brady did not have that luxury. So you would have thought that a guy who's second in the world, who has the fight IQ, theoretically at least, to know that he is getting touched. Again, after the first time that he was already wobbly off of the initial exchange, I would have thought that would have been straight to the body. Get yourself those hands around the waist, start getting on, pushing up against the cage, getting the single leg going, anything to try to change the course of this thing. No, he steps back. He tries to readjust himself and then goes right back to striking. I was floored by what I was seeing. I was very, very perplexed by why he had this game plan. But again, we did see both knees braced up. Maybe there was something going on behind the scenes. Maybe there'll be some information coming out this week as to why he didn't want to wrestle in this fight. But either way, if that is your one thing that you're good at, knowing what Michael Morales is capable of, what he has done to all of his previous opponents, come on, the guy is undefeated for a reason here. It goes back to what you were just saying. So it's like, you got to know that he is dangerous. This guy is powerful. He's scary powerful. Plus, even if you had initiated the wrestling, you still might have had problems with him. You'll never know. But you could have at least gotten to the potential for something better for yourself if you had tried.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I have to say about this, because of course it was a quick one, and Michael Morales did exactly what he needed to do, and that's exactly why I think it was perfect for me to go ahead and get me my Ecuadorian flag.
Had it queued up and everything.
I had it queued up, obviously. So
Beautiful.
Michael Morales added to the collection because at 19-0, this dude is a force to be reckoned with. But I will keep the consistency and say the same thing that I said about Shara and about Rafael Esteban. When you are undefeated, there is a target on your back. The official loss is going to come in your mixed martial arts career. When will it be? Is the question. And every day that you take a fight, that is the potential for your first loss to hit you the hardest is going to be there. So what's going to be next for Michael Morales after the loss is what I'm more concerned about. But if he just never loses, I mean, don't think that's possible. Just saying. So,
well, and I mean, if Dana is a man of his word on this one, then his loss very well could be to the new champion, because this apparently was supposed to be a title eliminator. So we'll see if that ends up sticking, if that is the case. But it would be an interesting fight to see him be the first defense for Islam Makhachev. I somehow doubt that that's actually going to be the case, but that was what this fight was built at as anyway.
Yeah, 100%. Last thing I'll say is Sean Brady, if having cool tattoos meant you could be the champ, maybe. But
true. Yes, it's unfortunate that all of those awesome tattoos are not going to be getting the shine they potentially deserve, but that is all based on your lack of wrestling here. So where was the IQ? Yeah. The only other things I had was that I thought that Michael Morales' composure was amazing, being that this was for the number 2 rank in the world. Madison Square Garden. This guy looked like he was cool as a cucumber in there, hands down by his belly button at times. Like he just was not phased by anything that was coming his way. So shout out to him for that level of confidence. And I was very happy that he dedicated this win to his mama, who was out there in the crowd. Love to see it.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, that takes us to the co-main event of the evening. This is Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili for the women's flyweight title. What can you say about this one? This was a pretty solid shutout for Valentina, slightly unexpected as far as I was concerned, because I saw what Zhang Weili was able to do against Tatiana Suarez, being a much taller and theoretically more powerful wrestler than she was. She was able to handle that pretty well, but Valentina was having none of that.
Yeah, this one, I mean, I picked Weili. I'm a big fan of Shevchenko and Weili, of course. But I had to pick Weili because you do have to pick somebody in this. And I did think I was expecting more from Weili. And like I said, I thought in the point of her career, she is more youthful. She has more physicality. She has more of all of these attributes that I would say make a champion. Now, Valentina was able to play everything perfectly. I mean, everything that Weili was able to do, she had the answer for it. So it was absolutely a beautiful performance. I mean, people could say it was boring, but when it comes to mixed martial arts, when it comes to the art of, something comes at you and you're able to provide an answer for that in the millisecond that it happens. I mean, she was able to connect all the dots, and there was nothing that Weili was able to do. It was honestly frustrating because Weili was so far away in these fights. Like she was jabbing, but 3 punch arm lengths away. Like, and it was just frustrating because Valentina was very stationary. She was just waiting for you to just walk into her traps. And Weili seemed a little unwilling to do that at times because she was getting, it was working. Valentina was cooking her on the feet. And then with the wrestling, I mean, she was able to just do everything that Weili couldn't. And, whether it was it did appear to be the size, it appeared to be the weight, and she was just able to do everything that Weili normally could do against women her size or similar, and this was just unfortunate. The one thing that I will say about her post fight speech, which I thought was pretty cool, everybody out there who rooted for me, don't worry, I'm okay. I'm happy. I'm like, man, fucking shout out Weili, man. She's always bringing the positivity, so love
Yeah,
to see it.
she's a lovely young lady. She's always very positive. I think she's a great asset to this sport, and she is a legend of this sport, really, just
Hmm.
like Valentina Shevchenko is. Valentina looked huge compared to her, so yes, I do think that the size was a big factor in this. And a lot of the notes that I have for this fight are applicable to the main event as well. But the biggest one that I would say here is that when the takedown threat is that real, which it was real as you saw in this fight, the striking instantly becomes way more timid by its own very nature. You if you're worried about getting taken down every time that you enter for striking, you're just not going to be as effective of a striker. It's just a natural thing. So what are the options at that point? Jean can't close the distance because of the takedowns. She can't fast shuffle because Val is too nice with her own striking, and the knees were there for her too. I mean, like Val was just locked in as she always is. So what adjustments really could be made by round 4? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like you have 3 rounds ahead of that are all very much not going how you want them to go, and you don't see a solid entry point for anything that could be offense for you. It almost becomes a foregone conclusion by then. It feels very hard to think that even with the positivity that she showed after the fight, that there wasn't some element of Weili that was broken by midway through this fight, I would say.
I think another key thing that I have to say about this, and I don't know if I'm incorrect to make this assessment, but when it came to the coaching from Zhang Weili's side, she had an American coach speaking English to her. I don't think I've ever seen that for her. I don't know what happened to our Chinese coaches. I thought that was where we had been. I got this random coach who's just yapping. He's actually telling her just like shit things in the corner. Like he's not. I didn't hear anything that made me think like, all right, Whaley's got the now she can go. She did the same thing every time, and all he did was just boost her confidence. Like, all right, we'll get back in there. It wasn't a good round, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna. And then when the 5th round came, he's just like, all right, I mean, you know what it is. You know, you're gonna go out here and just try to, get to the grappling and try to get a finish. And it's like, dude, I don't know. My opinion, if it would have been an old Chinese man and I couldn't understand what he was saying, I would have believed like he's giving her the fucking sauce right now. He knows that she's gonna go out here and finish. But now that it's just like some Eric Nixick ripoff, because that's what it was. Like I was like, is that Eric? Like who is this dude? And he's just, I don't know, dude. It really kind of made me mad because when we go into this next fight, I'll talk about the coaching corner between 4 and 5 for that one
Oh
as
yeah.
well. So I don't know. I think the coaching, I think Zhang Wei Li maybe did something different with a coach here. I don't know. That's my opinion.
I didn't pick up on it. I'd have to go back and double check all of that aspect of things. But really, I mean, coaching or otherwise, like, what was the actual answer here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's only so much that you could say when Valentina. Again, this was one of those hard ones when, because it's like Valentina. You know the level of athleticism that she brings to every fight. She is a person who lives the martial arts lifestyle. She said it in her own post-fight speech. You know, that it's not a job to her, it's a lifestyle to her. She exemplifies that every day of her life and in her fights. So she comes in with the athleticism, zero energy expenditure through half of this. Every time that they would stand up at the end of the round, she popped right back to her feet and marched over to her corner like nothing had happened. She could have gone 5 more rounds if she needed to. So she's doing everything correctly. The striking is there, as you had said. The takedowns are there. Everything is clicking exactly as she wants it to be, and she's negating the potential things that Wei Li could do. That's what I felt bad for. Like by the end of this fight, when Wei Li, like at the very, very end, was on her back and she's like bicycle kicking in the air and Val is just standing over her. Like I felt like that was almost like telling the story of this fight to an extent. You know what I mean? It's like everything that you tried just didn't add up. And this is where you end up on the ground with your feet flailing and Val just kind of looking down at you.
Yeah.
And if you go back tracing through all of this, she got hurt by that knee in the first round. Like,
Yeah.
that was a legitimate drop. I mean, it didn't look like it because the angle and them being on the cage or whatever, but like she went down off of it. Like it was that in little moments throughout the entirety of it. So you take that over 5 rounds, 25 minutes of essentially getting a masterclass performed on you. I really, again, corner her. I can't be mad at really any of it. Val is just greatness exemplified.
100%. Yeah, you can't really take too much away. I would agree with it. I mean, shout out Valentina. I mean, she's got 9 rubies to the belt now. So what can you say?
Yeah, she's starting a second Thanos gauntlet,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess that really is about it for this fight. 50-45 shutout victory for Shevchenko. Everybody's asking what's next for her. It's like, I mean, what's she going to fight on the moon? I mean, like,
Yeah.
she's really going to be waiting for Nunes and Harrison to happen, and then maybe she fights either the winner or the loser of that, depending on what she wants. But I would think it'd be the winner. I mean, another
Well, I
super
don't
fight.
know if you saw Amanda Nunes commented about this.
I did not.
She said, when I come back and get the 35 belt, I'm gonna go down to 25. So
Okay, well then there you go. Let Val have that, and after that, I mean, there's just not much left for her to do. She's in that rarefied air where she has done everything that she needs to do in this sport. Like, what do you do?
if you make Wei Li look easy, we don't have any other options. We have literally no other person that's gonna make it even close, in my opinion. So just let her I mean, she should be doing what Volkanovski's doing right now, is fucking resting with the belt. It's like, why haven't we found an opponent for him? It would make more sense if it was like Shevchenko. It's like, well, we don't have anybody that's even worthy. Like, we keep trying to show you that these are the contenders, but they keep falling short. Jasmine Jasudavicius. We keep trying to throw them in there so we can get new contender, but they can't show you. So we had to get Wei Li from another class, and even then, she got sparked for 5 rounds. So what do we have? Honorary, just give her a date and let her just walk out and just wave and be like, I won. I did it.
Yeah, legitimate, really, seriously. She could have a send off the same way that they sent off Mighty Mouse in one championship, where it's just lay the belt down, induct her immediately into the Hall of Fame. It sounds crazy to think that would be an appropriate thing, but when you do what Valentina has done in this sport, it really does track.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, there you have it. That leads us into the main event of this card here. This was Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev for the welterweight world championship. Islam Makhachev doing essentially what we had predicted him to do, Chase. It was one of those ones that, like, I didn't necessarily see this going exactly how it played out because shout out to Tommy Tohold from MMA On Point. You know, I listened to their breakdown of this very briefly. And what he had said was that, you know, Islam is generally a more exciting fighter than what this fight was. So I can understand people who thought that this was a little bit of a snoozer, but it does not take away from the fact that Islam Makhachev is the GOAT. He is that thing. He is the man. So, I mean, you know, love it or hate it, and I understand the people who hated it, but this is what you get from Islam Makhachev. You get greatness, you get dominance, you get a double champ.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was impressive to me how strong Islam was, and like going up a weight class. You know, I even said it. It's like if if you're rooting for JDM and your idea of hope is that when JDM is completely lying on his back as if he was with Bilal and he was able to explode back to his feet, you are in the wrong thought process of how he's going to win this fight. Because Islam, if he gets on top of him, which he did, he's not getting up. I mean, he tried to explode up many different times, and Islam literally just forced him back to the ground. Like it was comically easy. It seemed like for Islam. Like I like Jack Della Maddalena because in the nature of the underdog, when you get to round 5 and you see his face and you see just like you see how much it hurts him, you know. And people want to talk about it was the leg kicks. Mate, he landed 10 leg kicks. Let's not act like Jack Della Maddalena's leg was fucking broke. Like, I've seen leg kicks before. People get chewed up all the time. He's a tough fighter. I don't think 10 leg kicks are what made him, cry. That's where some people were alluding to. He's in so much pain from the leg kick. It's like, no, he was upset at himself. He thought he was going to do better. Thought Craig Jones had the fucking answers, which I hate to break it to you once again, just not how that fucking works. Go to Dagestan 2-3 years anyway.
Yep.
So in the nature of the underdog, I'm starting to root for Jack towards the end of the fight, but the entirety of the time, it's comically easy for Islam to just do what he wanted. The first takedown was so bad because he grabbed the leg, switched it to the outside, and then tripped this dude so fucking hard. And then when you saw that, I mean, there was also another point where they went rolling. Jack Della like reversed the position on the takedown, but Islam never broke his grip, so he just like rolled with him and then just like manhandled him back to the mat.
That's the one. That was to your point about the strength of Islam. That's what I had in the notes. I said it's not the grappling of Islam; it's the strength plus the grappling. Because the maneuver you were talking about there, he essentially, we were talking about this on the watch along. Both me and Vitz just like jaws on the ground. It's like you see him take him from his like the top of him and essentially suck him underneath him. Like it's like he like absorbed him to the position that he wanted. He was able to maneuver him to wherever he wanted him to go. That's why it was pretty amazing to me that Islam was not able to finish this fight, considering the amount of control that he had. But besides the point, I suppose.
Jack is decent at grappling, at least when it comes to not getting submitted grappling. Like, that's what I mean. He was taught the correct way to defend the positions, which, fair to him. He was not taught the correct way how to get up out of these positions. One, because we don't necessarily have that answer yet. This dude is too strong, too good at wrestling. He can keep you where he wants you. It was just a very great performance all around for Islam. Going into the 5th round, you had the coach from Jack Della, wipe that look off your face. You could end this fight in one shot. Go out there, give him that one shot. I actually kind of respect. I'm like, oh, this is a coach. Like, this is the Leon moment. Like, this is what you need from a coach. At your worst moment, you got one round left. Give him all he needs to have some sort of hope. And he did have that hope, and it was instantly shut down again by getting, I don't know. It was unfortunately easy for Islam, it seemed. Jack Della.
Sorry.
Jack Della, unfortunately, did not make this one the fight that I thought it was going to be. I'll give him this. He did better than DDP against Hamzat. He at least was, attempting. You could see in his face that he was trying. He wasn't just accepting that Hamzat's on my back or Islam's on my back, whatever you want to say. Like, he was genuinely showing frustration in his face because he was trying so hard. So I'll give him at least credit there. He tried. So.
Well, I mean, this again, the note from the co-main event really does stand here as well, is that when the takedown threat is that real, the striking is inherently going to suffer. Jack started this fight first round, came out pretty hot. Started with a couple of pretty strong shots. Islam evaded all of them, but he was at least attempting them. One takedown changed the tides of this fight for the entirety of the rest. He systematically broke Jack Della Maddalena down.
Mhm.
And what I had said about Jack coming into this fight was I had said, Jack is a person who I did not think would give up on himself. We had seen him come back from heavy adversity in previous fights, pull a victory out somehow, some way, got him to this champion position. This fight, it was again very hard to think that he was not broken, especially going into that fifth round, as you had mentioned, where his coach is telling him to wipe that look off of his face. The reason that he was telling him that was because he had a fucking look on his face like he did not want to be in this fight anymore. He wanted to be anywhere but here after everything that he had gone through. Now, his coach was not wrong, exactly like you had said. That was the right advice. Where was the striking at the beginning of every one of these rounds? Jack was so timid after that first takedown to let his hands go because he knew it was a foregone conclusion. So it almost became a self fulfilling prophecy. When you don't let your hands go because you're so worried about the takedown will come anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's unfortunate that he had the look of that on his face because when I compare it to what DDP was able to do, he at least knew that as long as I look happy, people can make it seem like I'm not having the worst time of my life. Obviously getting ragdolled for 25 minutes is not fun, but if I get up and I cheer and I'm happy, then like who can tell me anything? DDP at least had that thought process. Jack Della, too expressive for his own good. I mean, dude, we know you really did not like this fight, and that's going forward, people are going to say that. And Jack Della is going to be one of those dudes that actually has a massive comeback performance where he finishes a dude when people are going to be like, dude, he was fucking crying against Islam. Why would I bet on him? And then he goes out here and smokes this next guy. So I think it's possible. Islam is just that fucking good that he, and we talk about what shakeups happened in this division. Mate, Ian Gary was my option to go ahead and get this belt here soon. I hate to change everybody's plans. Islam's going to hold this shit for a while. Ian Gary, Prates, Michael Morales, Brady, Bilal, Leon, just hang up your hats. Hang them up now, because what's really going to happen is, and people hate that I'm going to be real about this. This is what's going to happen. Kamaru Usman is going to call for his title shot. They are going to set this up because that is a welterweight name. That is a Hall of Famer in the welterweight division. If Islam beats him, that is a resume builder. He has beaten the greatest welterweight of all time. Now Islam is the greatest welterweight of all time. Whatever you want to say. That is what is going to happen. Now, Kamaru Usman may or may not deserve it, but it is going to be the exact same reason that Stipe and John Jones fought, that Islam and Kamaru Usman are going to end up fighting.
Islam already said he wants it too.
Exactly. And Ali Abdelaziz manages both of them. So
Yeah, Jesus, how nice for him, right? But yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense, and you're right. I mean, now what I would say about Jack Della coming back and having a great performance in his next fight, absolutely, because he's going to be fighting someone who is not going to be doing the things that Islam does. This is the difference. This is why, what I said coming into this fight. People forgot that Islam is that thing. He's a level above, when it comes to all of these elements that make him great, they set him into a stratosphere that these other fighters cannot touch. I like, whether you like it, hate it, the Dagestani style, whatever. Like, I mean, like, a lot of people have a lot of mixed feelings about it, but you see it in action. You see it in him every time that he is out. People want to talk about, his Swiss cheese record, all of these weird things that happened. None of that has any bearing on the fact that he went out and smoked all of the people that they put in front of him. I don't care why those were the people that they chose. He did the damn thing. He will continue to do the damn thing. Take any person that you want, put him in that position. He will do the same thing. So, yeah, can Jack Della bounce back? Absolutely, he can bounce back, just not against him.
I think what's funny about Islam too, and hopefully the chat gets a kick out of this, because I think it really rings true. Islam, when it comes to his loss, and this is a funny meme in the community, I don't know if you're aware, is that Pantoja is the one that knocked out Islam, because Brendan Schaub said that randomly. He's like, is that Pantoja that knocked him out? Something like that. But it's funny because that meme in itself is like, oh yeah, he got knocked out by Pantoja, big whoop. It kind of just like makes the one loss that he has not even matter, because it's kind of a joke. Like, we don't even know who actually did it. We just say it's Pantoja that did it because that dude's an idiot and said Pantoja as a flyweight was going to knocked out Islam. But it makes him basically he's undefeated to me. I've never seen this dude lose. I don't care if that dude if Pantoja really did drop him. The ref stepped in early. Whatever you want to say. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. This dude's a fucking killer. 28-1. 13 fight win streak, whatever it is now. I mean, this dude's insane in the
Yeah, oh,
membrane.
and I love that's even something that anybody would try to like hang an argument on anyway. One loss one time. Any other fighter under those circumstances, it's like, damn, he only lost one time. But no, it's because it's Islam and it's Dagestan and all of those things. Like, and if he didn't have that, he would be undefeated. That's why that's the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It like, yeah, okay, MMA people lose. He is above great. That was a long time ago. There's been a long list of things that have happened between them and now. Then and now, you see what is happening now. You see what the reality of the boots on the ground are right now. You cannot tell me otherwise. So what I always say, I go with what is working until it stops working. Islam has what is working and will continue to have that.
So, with the context that Islam called out Kamaru Usman thinks that he should rightfully get the shot as well. What do you think that means for Sean Brady and Michael Morales title eliminator meanings? Because even when that happened, I believe what exactly happened is, they were at the little press thing and they were like, "Is Sean Brady and Michael Morales a title eliminator shot?" And Dana said, "Sure." Like, that doesn't sound like he's like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, no, these dudes are getting the belt after this." He literally was just like, don't give a fuck. It could be or it couldn't be. And then now the Kamaru Usman steps in. What are we thinking? So Michael Morales, is he just around the block now? Is he getting his title shot, or are we gonna have to see him go against Ian Gary or something?
Either if he got some type of verbal agreement about it, then he can wait. I mean, or he can take another fight if he wants to just stay active. But I don't know why you necessarily would want to stay active when you're the number 2 in the world. You're kind of setting yourself up for a potential downfall just by nature of the odds. Yeah, I mean, I think that whoever it is, I think it just gets backed up one. You know what I mean? You just slot Kamaru Usman in there for the exact reasons that you listed off earlier, and then after that, then the rest can play out as it's going to.
And to be, but I think I'll try to break it down for you. The reason that Kamaru Usman can get a title shot is because, yes, he did beat an upcoming person in Joaquin Buckley, who was the dark horse. This is somebody that we were all saying could come and get the belt eventually. He stalls that out after 2 years layoff. He just comes in off the couch, does it. Before that, he put up a reasonable matchup against Hamzat, didn't get finished on days' notice as well. And before that, he was the reigning champ of the welterweight division. His name is still lingering. He might even still be like the third ranked guy in welterweight. Like, the case is a little sketchy for activity. Like, this isn't a recent guy who's been winning, but like the case of the historical meaning to beating Kamaru Usman for Islam Makhachev, it'll only make sense now as they both get older, and it would only mean the most if we do it right now. It's not like we can get Islam a title defense and then finally, if Kamaru Usman wins 2 more, then we give him a shot. He's already old. Islam is in the prime of his career. If prime Islam beats Kamaru Usman, who's not 45 years old, that means something. But if we wait till Kamaru Usman's 42, 43 years old, and then we finally get the matchup, it's just not going to work. Or because in Kamaru Usman's mind, he's going to get the welterweight belt back, and he's going to get a Hamzat title opportunity. So there's still some sort of like determination in this. Whether it's actually going to come to fruition, who knows? But for Islam to not face Kamaru Usman, and we have 2 people who arguably could wear the GOAT title. Welterweight GOAT is not what Islam is. He's just in another stratosphere of that. But when it comes to divisional GOATs, Kamaru Usman is one of them. He's probably not. He's maybe second if you want, GSP or whatever. So who knows?
I mean, and also let's not forget that before the Leon Edwards loss, Kamaru Usman was in line to, I believe, either tie or overtake Anderson Silva for the longest win streak in the history of the organization as well. So, I mean, you want to talk about credentialed. I think people, short memory spans when it comes to this sport. Kamaru Usman is a legend of this sport, regardless of division. He is he's a generational athlete, in my opinion, really, in a lot of ways. So,
And that's unfortunately what matters most. It's not about the two L's to Leon, then an L to Hamzat, then one Buckley. It's about what their name represents in the sport. If
there you
you
go.
beat Kamaru Usman, you've beaten the person who's the best in the division. That means you are now the best to some people. John Jones, wanted to fight Stipe because that's the heavyweight GOAT. You guys call him the greatest heavyweight of all time. I want to beat the greatest heavyweight of all time because that would make me the greatest heavyweight of all time. That's just all it comes down to. Me personally, I don't think Kamaru Usman should, but in all fairness, I think if he does randomly get this shot, I think he might have the best chance out of everybody that we have right now.
And that's also a very good point too. I mean, this is still a competitive Kamaru Usman. I mean, you saw what he did to Buckley. Obviously, that would not be the same circumstances with Islam Makhachev, but the potential is still there. You see how well he moved. You see how he put to rest all of the knees being weak rumors and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, he went out there with a point to prove, and he proved that point. Also, the champ gets what the champ wants. Islam Makhachev, the double champ. I mean, granted, vacated the belt regardless. Give me a break. He's the double champ. We know it. He gets what he wants. If he wants that fight, that's what he gets. I mean, they both seem to want it. There's a reason for it. We just laid out all those reasons. Let it happen. It's one fight, and then the rest of the division can have their just due thereafter.
I actually am going to disagree with you for the sake of making a longer argument of something that doesn't need to happen. Double champ status. I do not believe that is what I've seen here. And it's not because it's not simultaneously. I don't have a problem with that. I think the issue is we had a clear cut person who wanted that 55 belt, and they were going to give him the shot. That's the thing. They were going to give him the shot against Islam. And Islam was like, now is my opportunity to go welterweight. So that's why I don't think this is a true double champ status, because some dude literally has his belt right now, and he decided not to go fucking fight him. So
sure, that is a very good point, and that is a very broader portion of this conversation. The lingering Ilia Topuria question, of course. So I acknowledge that. Actually, I think that you make a very good point with that. I think everybody still wants that fight. I think it would be very appropriate if they did that. People were rumoring that for the White House card. I mean, that would be fine too if they wanted to go that route. I think it'd be a very big curveball based on what we just saw. But crazier things have happened. But you're right. I mean, like if I, I've been glazing Islam a whole hell of a lot based on everything that we've been talking about here. If there was any valid criticism that I think makes a lot of sense to say, it would be that I do think that there is some legitimacy to people saying that he is ducking Ilia Topuria. I mean, the whole thing about, we don't want to have to fight another guy who's undersized. He
had no problem until he came along. So.
Exactly. So, I mean, this is the whole thing is, they're making up excuses. Khabib is kind of a little bit of a mealy-mouthed representative in a lot of ways when it comes to this, because he's been saying a whole lot of stuff. Khabib has his own set of circumstances that come with him and come with training and that camp. Him being the leader of the team has like its own set of parameters that he brings to the equation, and him running his mouth about Topuria did not help anything, I thought. So that being said, the perception is certainly there. If Islam really wants to solidify his legacy in a real way, that would be what you do.
And I think what's interesting to note too is, like, I'm not saying this out of somebody who thinks Ilia would beat Islam, but the fact that he's unwilling to let me find out makes me concerned that maybe he doesn't believe in it. Because you were completely fine running the 155. You were going to be the lightweight go. Like, since when was welterweight on your plan until Ilia fucking popped into existence? I don't know, man. I think it is very telling. They told him, they're like, look, if you want to be double champ, you're gonna have to vacate this belt if you want to go up. He took the opportunity to it's not ruining his legacy, but when it comes to lightweight legacy, he vacated his belt. Okay, shut that door. We're gonna go to welterweight. He only shut that door is because Ilia was kicking that shit in. Like, that's just all that I have to say. And I think Islam probably would beat Ilia. That's why I'm just confused on where's the disconnect here? Why are we not fighting another 145-pound man, you know?
Yep, I do agree. I think that it's a very valid and solid point. He himself in his post fight did say, and he had said it previous to that as well. Oh, this is my dream. My dream was always to move up. My dream was always to be double champ that way. Exactly. That's the same face that I make verbally with that is just like, okay, I mean, yeah, when did that dream suddenly pop into your head? I mean, was it when you were a little boy or was it when you found out about Ilia Topuria? Look, there's a lot of unanswered questions there that I do think need to be answered at some point. Whether he goes and takes that challenge is really up to him. But we also know that the Dagestani methodology is get the wins where you can and want to get them and then get the heck out of the sport. So now I'm not saying that Khabib did not have his reasons for leaving the sport. They were very valid reasons in my estimation, but nevertheless, he left in his prime. Islam has said that, he doesn't want to fight forever. He wants to accomplish all that he feels he needs to accomplish. And then he also will be retiring. This is his words. So,
yeah. If Ilia is true to his word and he does go to welterweight some way, somehow, and Islam is at peace with his career at that point, I will definitely be spreading the narrative for the rest of my life that Ilia Topuria ran the GOAT out of 2 divisions, so whatever. I mean,
if that happens, then absolutely, then I don't think that there's any 2 ways about it at that point. If he moves up a 3rd weight to do that, and then the champ is nowhere to be found, yeah, that champ is packing up his bags and heading for greener pastures.
Yeah, but I think that's unlikely. I think it's unlikely that we get to see them fight. Unfortunately, it's just too big of a fight, and I don't have that much hope in the promotion. I don't think that they're gonna put that one together for us because they'll let Islam do whatever the fuck he wants. If he wants to avoid the fight, anybody else, it's like, no, Mr. Yoel Alvarez, you're staying at fucking 155. It's like, they force people to stay at the weight classes that they want because there's money fights there. Brandon Royval has said plenty of times, like, I'll go to bantamweight, but they're like, no, you're literally the number 1 contender in flyweight. We don't have any other flyweights. Please, like, stay. So I don't know. Whatever.
Well, again, time shall tell. All will be revealed over the course of time. I think that this is all a very valid argument when Ilia Topuria comes into the equation, but these are all things that don't have any bearing currently on what we saw with Jack Della Maddalena. So in this moment, we saw greatness, I would say.
100%.
So that all being said, after that very long conversation thereabout, what did you think of UFC 322, Chase?
It was fine. I think the main card, which is how a lot of people judge these because people aren't watching prelim fights, the main card itself, you should be very, very happy for. You got to see 3 straight finishes, and then you got 2 masterful performances from the greatest champions of our era. So there's that.
Yeah, I would agree too. I mean, I am very much acknowledging people who I think it was CTE who was in the chat earlier saying that, he values the entertainment in his entertainment value. I think that is an entirely valid perspective. Look, I understand that there, are fight styles that are more exciting than others. And what you saw in the co-main and the main may not be exactly what you were looking for in your entertainment offerings. Sometimes this is the nature of this sport. What you saw was greatness in its own way, and that in and of itself, I think, is worth acknowledging. There will be other very exciting fights. You got other very exciting fights on this card, so I think that there was a masterful display of technique in both of those 2 fights, in the co-main and the main, and also history being made. So in and of itself, there was value in that. If you didn't find it all that exciting, I hear you, but you can't deny the greatness.
100%.
All right. Well, then that will do it for 322. Of course, we do have an event coming up this very weekend, which is UFC Fight Night, Tsarukyan versus Hooker. And we are going long, but we still can run these things down. Chase, what are you thinking about Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan the Hangman Hooker?
I think easily enough, I'll say Dan Hooker went to a decision or maybe he finished. I'm not too sure, but the fight was close with Jalen Turner. Is needless what I'll say. Fight was close. Arman Tsarukyan has beat Charles Oliveira, who is a very notable name in this lightweight division. I think Arman Tsarukyan probably beats Dan Hooker the way that he beat all of his other opponents. And I don't think there's going to be much to attest from Dan. He might think that he's going to make it a very bloody massacre of a fight. Mate, you just had one hand for the past 3 years. I mean, you might break it on the first punch. Who knows? I mean, maybe you have a steel rod now. I don't know. But it is concerning that you were unable to compete because your hand has been jacked. So,
Yeah, as much as I dislike Armin and the way that he navigated his potential title shot, I cannot deny that he is a very skilled fighter, and he has a very solid set of skills. He's a very well-rounded fighter as well. He can strike, he can wrestle, he can grapple. He really has all of what you need in this sport. Dan Hooker is more of a brawl and kind of let the chips fall as they may kind of fighter. I think that that style pairs very poorly with what Armin brings to the table. So I think that Armin is pretty much a slam dunk on this one.
100%. And make sure if we ever start to have differing opinions, you like the channel that you agree with the opinion on. So maybe not this
Exactly.
one, but this next one we'll see.
That's right. We are streaming to our individual channels. Make sure you like the one that has the more accurate takes in your
More based takes, of course.
exactly base takes all day. Of course, they're coming from me mostly, but you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, co-main event is Bilal Muhammad versus your boy Ian Machado Gary. What are you thinking, buddy? Are you going for your boy Gary to just knock this dude around for 3 rounds, or is this a 5 rounder? I think it's 3 rounds, right?
I would hope this is 5, but it's most likely going to be 3 because it's a fucking co-main event and they're stupid. But what I will say about this is what I envisioned Ian Gary going to get the title and beating. I knew that this was possible. I knew Ian Gary is able to beat Bilal Muhammad because if Jack Della Maddalena is able to keep it on the feet, Ian Gary can do it just as good because he's an even better striker when it comes to using his range and effectively placing punches. He's not the powerful striker, but he's able to land enough strikes that's going to make Bilal not have the Mexican boxing like Canelo or whatever the fuck he was saying.
Canelo hands.
There we go. Yeah, I think Ian Gary butchers him on the feet, and this should have been Ian Gary's ticket to the belt. But Bilal Muhammad at 37, not much left to offer. When he gets chinned, once again, it's going to be the age. We're all going to hang our hat on. Well, he's 37 years old. You know, who could have expected it? But if Ian Gary chins him, I will be very surprised. I'll tell you.
Well, that's the problem with Ian Gary to me. Ian Gary is, I mean, we're talking about the well roundedness of Armin. Ian Gary is another person who has a very, very well rounded skill set, especially at this point. He is a fighter that, if you really chart his history in this sport, in this promotion, has upped his game in a tremendous way. He is a student of the sport, and it shows every time that he is out there. He is adding skills to his repertoire and getting better fight over fight, even in defeat, even in the defeat to Shavkat. You still saw flecks of greatness in him. He consistently is improving. That being said, what we are lacking from Ian Gary at the top of this division and at this echelon of the sport is finishing ability. I mean, you know, he's not a finisher, and I think that it's going to eventually come to bite him in the ass because he's going to be in so many of these long, drawn out, plotty fights where Bilal's going to try to go for the grappling after the striking doesn't work out for him. You know, he's going to try out his Canelo hands for a little while, realize that he's got to go to plan B. That doesn't end up working for him. It doesn't bode well for Ian Gary to have to be in these very long, drawn out engagements, even when he wins. It does. I think that he needs to up that. That's the last piece of the equation for him, is becoming an actual, genuine, bona fide finisher.
And I think that's exactly where you're about to see the shine come through, is because there's people, when we talk about them, there's people who get decisions earlier on in their career. And then there's people who finish people late in their career. And then there's the opposite, people who get finishes early and then they start to stall out when they get to top level competition. Ian Gary has proven to be able to get to finishing positions. He's only 28. He's going to get better. He literally is the only person that has been able to get MVP down to the mat, the only person that has been able to beat MVP in these last recent years. And he was able to almost get a finish on Shavkat. He got his back too. These are positions that, you know, you'd be lucky to get against some people, but these are the top level guys that he's able to get down, get to their back, and get a choke synced in. Now, it's not working, but that's going to come with experience. He's going to know next time when he gets the neck, I got to crank that bitch just a little harder. I got to rip their fucking skull off, because he has the ability to finish people. We can see everywhere in the game. He can land shots. He's got decent power. He sets things up, you know, the low kicks, and then he goes high. He does all the things that would lead you to believe a finish can come. We haven't seen it yet, but I think we're just not at the part of his career that it's going to happen. If you give him This fight right here, I think he finishes Bilal on the feet. But then after this, we're going to start to see them rack up. Like he can get a submission against this guy. He can knock this guy out. He'll maybe take this guy to a 5-round decision war that doesn't necessarily drop his stock too much. But then the next guy, he can go out here and finish. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Ian Gary is the dude to be able to beat Michael Morales. I mean, I've been saying this for a while. Ian Gary is, it's a different weight, is it? No, it's welterweight, yeah. Michael Morales is elite.
Well,
Or Ian Gary is elite. Sorry, that's what I meant. Michael Morales is a different
yeah,
shit.
no,
But
I'm really not arguing that. And also if you're saying that he is eventually going to be coming into the phase of his career where knockouts and finishes are going to be a part of the equation, then fair enough. When I start seeing it, then the conversation definitely changes. If he does that against Bilal, I think that would be a huge statement. Right now, it's the one thing that's lacking from him, and it's the one thing I need to see to really consider him like the elite that I do believe that he is. Like, I think that he already is that. It's just like he's like that much, it's that little extra that's gonna like actually bump him into that category for me. So he's like right at the cusp of it. It's just the last piece of the equation. But
so if he knocks out Bilal, you're sold. Or is Bilal the type of person you're like, he knocked out Bilal. Like we can't.
No, definitely not. No, if he knocks out Bilal, I'm definitely sold. Absolutely, I'm
Now,
already
what if
sold. Honestly,
what if he submits him?
yeah,
Then are you
that
like,
that
holy
too.
shit? Like
If he
that's
if he finishes Bilal Muhammad, he has done everything that I need to see. Because I've been again, you put all of the dumb stuff with Ian Gary. He's got a whole bunch of outside extracurricular stuff. You put all of that to the side and you look at exactly what he has done inside of the cage. He has time over time improved and improved and improved. Some of his performances have been a little bit lackluster. The whole Neil Magny fight where he wasn't able to finish that one sticks out to some people. This and that. I'm saying that these are the things that if he can just get past that hump, he will have everything that I need to see, because I have seen greatness in him already. I think that he is. I talk a lot about these people who are like students of the game and what that means to their abilities. He exemplifies that. He is a person that takes his craft seriously and is constantly working to improve it. This is the last piece of the puzzle to get the full picture.
100%.
So, and that
I'm
being
taking
said,
Gary.
yeah, I also am taking Ian Gary. I think that this will be a very solid win for him against a former champion. People don't want to acknowledge that aspect of Bilal because of how they feel about Bilal, but that is your former champion right there. So this is going to be a big notch in Ian Gary's belt.
100%.
All right, going on down the line, quality level kind of drops off pretty dramatically. We got Volkan Oezdemir versus Alonzo Menefield. What are you thinking?
I like Volkan Oezdemir. I think he is somebody who listen. His when he got a knockout and he did this, the I don't waste time. Like to see it. I'd love to see him come in here with some intensity to finish the fight early. Alonzo Menefield is somebody who I've literally watched get flatlined by Carlos Ulberg in like 30 seconds. I'd love to see these dudes run in here and try to be bulls in the china shop to each other and just start throwing massive strikes. Alonzo Menefield actually, in his last fight against Julius Walker, showed me, I think that was his last fight, showed me a lot of different skills that I didn't believe he had going into that fight. So with that being said, I think the skill set to win is in Alonzo Menefield's ballpark, but Volkan Oezdemir he's just a brute level striker. When it comes to light heavyweights, this is one of these guys that I would say is more heavyweight style. Walks in, just drops bombs, doesn't really have much else to say about it, not going to show you crazy wrestling. I think he has a submission against fucking Bogdan Gushkov, which is crazy to say, but I'm going to take Volkan Oezdemir. I like him.
And Menefield's last fight was actually that Umar Sy fight, if you recall.
Which nice.
Umar Sy looked terrible in that fight. So,
yeah.
That's a nice little feather in the cap for Menefield, I suppose, but more based on his opponent. Yeah, I like Volkan Oezdemir as well. I think that he is a tough, powerful guy. I think that Alonzo Menefield is a little bit craftier, I want to say. I think he might be a little bit slower, though. So I think that, which is kind of crazy to say.
Atomic Alonzo Menefield's got that explosive nature. I think you'll be surprised if that's your your assessment.
And that's why it's kind of funny to say that against Volkan Oezdemir, who's not exactly known for his speed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I just think that Menefield is a dude who is, both these guys kind of big plotty dudes. You know, they're a little bit heavy on their feet, I would say. If they end up planting their feet and slugging, then Oezdemir is probably going to be able to finish Menifield. But I think that Menifield will probably want to level change and might be able to accomplish that. Like I said, I think that Menifield has just a little bit more variety in his attack methodology. So I'm thinking Alonzo Menifield in this one for me personally.
I before I solidify who I'm taking, I think this is going to be one of those ones where, Alonzo Menifield, he's more of a wild guy. When it comes to Volkan Oezdemir, very technical, very straight by the books. You're going to get crisp boxing, and I think when it comes to certain fighters and certain stylistic matchups, there's a reason that martial arts is like a science. You know, you do one thing and there's a way to counter it. I think Volkan Oezdemir is going to show the technical ability that, like, when you do something, I have the proper response to it, and there's going to be a reason why I don't just fucking swing hooks from my hips. I think that'll fare well for him. So I'm taking Volkan Oezdemir.
I like the assessment, and that very well could be the case. I think that Menifield almost has like I could apply that to him as well. So in a different way. Like I think that there are elements of him like that he one of those people that actually might be able to adjust on their feet. You know what I mean? Which is that's a note that I wish a couple of other people from the card that we just reviewed had.
Yeah.
But so we'll see though. I think that it definitely could go either way. They have Oezdemir as a pretty heavy favorite on this one. That seems a little bit inflated in my opinion. I'm going for the dog on this one.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, next up is Jack Hermansson versus Miktabek Orlabai. This is actually a much better fight than you're laughing about, sir. I think that you're giving Jack a bum rap off rip.
It's not a bad fight per se. It is just funny to think about. We have Jack Hermansson going down a weight class. We have Miktabek Orlabai going up a weight class, and they're both meeting each other at welterweight. And one dude is a guy who got knocked out by RoboCop. The other dude has been missing weight against 55ers for the past 2 fights now. It's like there's just too many things that just make you giggle about this. It's like this dude's weight that they have on ESPN is 165 because that's how continuously he cannot make 155.
That's
so
wild.
He better be good here. He better be good because if not, I'm gonna be real upset that I saw this dude strangle people. Your Uros Medic is somebody who at the weight class, this dude finished, almost ripped his head off. Now he's going welterweight against Jack Hermansson, who just got flatlined. Miktabek, just fucking fit, dude. You better be good at this weight because this is clearly where your body has to be. Like you cannot be 55. So
true. Yeah. Well, definitely the weight is more appropriate. That is funny. I didn't put all of that together until you said it, but that is definitely a funny dynamic with this fight. Hermansson, I think, offers a lot of problems to Orlabai, though, because what Orlabai is really good at is when the going gets tough, being very sticky. He's another one of these guys that gets his hands on you, tries to, absorb you into his body, very octopus-like, it kind of takes over the position and all that kind of stuff that he does on the cage. Hermansson is also good that way. So I think that he might have some answers for that. It's hard for me to say with all of those dynamics that you just listed out, though, because it's like, Jack going down, does that affect any of his ability? Jack is also very inactive. He is a guy that you see once, like in a blue moon, it feels like he kind of just comes out of hiding every once in a while to fight. So all of those things being as they are, it's hard for me to say that I like to go against Jack on this one. But I mean, I got to believe that Orlabai at a more natural weight just does the things that he was already doing.
If Islam's strength level was any indication of what going up a weight class and not being consistently drained and having to, have a nutrition that's tailor-made for a lower weight class, if that's any indication of what Miktabek should be like at this new weight class, I hope he looks even crazier because he was already ragdolling people and manhandling some of them. If he can do that here, I mean, I'm excited to see it. But this dude already lost to Mateusz Rebecki, so is the ceiling as high as we would hope for him? Maybe not as what we think. I'm a big fan of Rebecki, but I even know this dude's like a journeyman kind of deal. He's not going to be ever top 7 ranked. He's never getting no belt shot. So if he beats you by split decision, and that's your toughest task, that's most people's toughest task. But going up a weight class, now you have other things on your hand. It's one thing to be in 55 and you just took your first loss in the UFC that was a little scandalous, but now you're setting that behind you and you're moving up to it. You got different things that you're different priorities going on right here. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. There's a lot of factors to this one. Hermanson definitely taller as well. Like, if he can be able to manhandle the much taller guy, get him off of his feet, that's going to be an interesting element to this too. A lot of variables in this one, I would say, based on everything that we've laid out here. So, Orlabai is the gut instinct, but Jack is one of those dudes that can pull an odd victory out when you least expect it. Joey Pfeiffer found that out the hard way.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and take Mick Beck for sure.
Yeah, I'm going with Mick Beck as well. It's just hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, next up is Sergey Spivak versus Shamil Gaziev, the GOAT.
People aren't going to like this. I think Sergey Spivak is going to be able to get this one done because Shamil Gaziev. Well, if you look at the people that have knocked out Sergey Spivak, Jailton Almeida, sadly, is one of them. But he actually looked like he was doing fine on his feet for the time being. Another person that has beaten Spivak on the feet, Tsarukyan, who's another great striker. Shamil Gaziev is not a great striker. He is one of these traditional heavyweight strikers. He's very tall, don't get me wrong. He's very massive in a blob. But when it comes to his striking, it is mostly straights, set up with a jab, straight down the middle. That's what's going to let you out. He doesn't have advanced striking. Now, when it comes to Sergey Spivak, this is somebody who genuinely has skill for heavyweight. Like, he can grapple, he can keep it on the feet. He does not have. He unfortunately, this is the unfortunate part, is that when it comes to his chin and his defensive striking, he has the cower maneuver where he gets hit too hard and he just starts ducking his head and running away. And like, it sucks, but I think Shamil Gaziev is not going to be able to do that to him. I think Spivak will be able to get close enough to get some wrist grabbing and then trip him, and then we're on the ground, and then it's a whole new ballpark for Shamil because we've never even seen him on the ground yet. They only give him strikers that they know he can beat, and the one occasional co-main event that he got shot up to where he literally lost to Yair Rozenstruik, which isn't a bad loss, but we've never seen ground game from this dude. So if he gets taken down by Spivak, I think I'm really hoping, and this is my big brain play, because Spivak is one of these guys. He's kind of like a Brendan Allen, where the skill is there. He just can't utilize it all the time against everybody. This dude will get Shamil down, and he's going to elbow his face in and bust him up real good, just like Tibera did to Janice. I'm thinking Spivak is going to go for a damage-heavy grappling game plan. I think that's what's best here.
I would agree, actually. I mean, I think that Shamil is a guy that like obviously, memes aside, put all of that stuff out of the equation, of course. I think that he's a dude who is like, he's powerful, but he's very limited. He doesn't like he's not versatile. And in the way that Spivak is. I mean, we've seen a lot of different like variation to Spivak's attack methods and his entries and those kinds of things. Can Shamil overwhelm him? There is potential for that, and that's the one thing that I would say, that if you're gonna go for Gaziev, I would probably go for something like early rounds, like maybe not over 1.5 kind of thing. Because if it goes later, I just think that Spivak is going to be able to like out crafty him, and his cardio is going to be much better, which is crazy to say at heavyweight. But I think that of the two of them, he's going to be the one that'll hold up throughout 3 rounds if it needs that. I just think that Spivak is a more well-rounded fighter in general, and that Shamil just has not shown a great range as a fighter. It's heavyweight, of course. A lot of times they don't need to, and you can still be great in that division without it. But when you have all of those abilities like Spivak, it's really just a matter of if he's going to be able to get his game plan off the ground. And against Shamil, I think it's possible.
Yeah, I think it's very likely. Matter of fact, I really like the Spivak pick here. This is one of the dogs that I would say is worth the money. There's a couple other ones we'll talk about.
There you go. All right, well, let's move on then. Alex Perez versus Asu Almabayev. My boy Asu coming back.
Yeah, chat said a minute ago, it was a little bit ago, so you probably didn't see it, but they're banking on Alex Perez pulling out because this dude is just, he always is injured and shit. Tatsuro Taira is the last time I think I saw this dude fight, and he like broke his fucking leg, basically.
Oh, that was him. Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah, he that was a bad injury that he took in that fight.
Yeah, so I think that this may be that the first fight of him back after that. I think he pulled, Tatsuro Taira, yeah. And that was June 15, 2024, so over a year ago. And Asu Almabayev is, I mean, he's a little easier on your limbs. I'll give you that. He's not going to go ahead and try to break your fucking arm or your leg like Tatsuro is gonna. But I still think he's going to get a submission and or just hold you down for the 15 minutes. And that's, I mean, is Alex Perez even some guy that offers anything off of his back? I mean, I'm not even sure. I've only seen this dude lose. So actually, no, he knocked out Mateusz Nicolau. Um, but
Yeah, I mean,
what?
yeah, right. That's what
Exactly,
exactly. It's
exactly.
kind of a
So
whatever thing.
I would say Asu's going to take this one very
Yeah,
easily.
I mean, Asu is a dude who will, very similar to what I was saying earlier. Forget who I was saying it about, but about Orlabai, guy who will, he'll absorb you. He gets his hands on you. He just becomes a problem. He's like a pest. You know what I mean? He's one of
Mhm.
those tenacious guys. Cardio is amazing. So I think that actually really not necessarily the same style, but the same problems that Tyro is offering Perez. I think that Asu offers very similar problems to him. Like you said, not necessarily going to be backpacking you to the point that you're planting your arm odd and your leg gives out or whatever, but like he's definitely going to offer the same type of the same type of grindiness and just do that for 3 rounds. I mean, like he is built for that exact type of fight. And if you're not doing what Manel Kopp did and poking him in the eyes and making it difficult for him to enact his game plan that way in an illegal fashion, then he gets his way. So I think Asu Almabayev is a pretty safe bet on this one,
Yeah, I love it.
especially coming back, like you were saying, long layoff as well. I
Yeah,
think
doesn't make sense to take him.
yeah. All right. Prelims are Bogdan Grod versus Luke Riley. Luke Riley, no picture. He's a Contender Series guy, right? That name sounds familiar.
Interesting enough, he's one of 2 of Patty's training partners on this card.
Yes, I did see a post about that. Yes, indeed.
So what I would like to say is, with that being said, in the typical fashion of Patty's teammates being terrible, Nathan Fletcher, Molly McCann being, there was another one, but either way, Bogdan Grod at plus 235. If you didn't see his last performance, you would not know what a dog looks like. This is a dude who will lose 2 straight rounds and then in the 3rd round come back and get a finish. And it's not somebody that I particularly, when it comes to that style, I would not bank on that. Like, if you've lost 2 rounds, maybe the next fight you're going to lose 3 rounds. But this is, again, somebody who's going against somebody who has not shown me that they're a dog yet. This is Bogdan Grod that I've been convinced can pull out a win when the circumstances are at their lowest. Do I expect him to have the lowest point in his fights again? No, I think he'll have a better opportunity here and he'll look a lot better. This is a good dog to take, I'm telling you guys.
I mean, we've seen, because if he's not a Contender Series guy, then he's another Cage Warriors guy. Then is what it sounded like to me, right?
You might be right about that.
Yeah, and what we have seen from these
Cage Warriors. Yep.
Yeah, what we've seen, and I'm not trying. I got so much love for the UK. You know this. I'm a big fan, and I think that there are some great fighters out of the region. But what I have seen when we take over these new Cage Warriors guys who are not named Patty, that it's just a mixed bag, and I don't necessarily think that anybody coming in is going to be able to give Bogdan Grod the same type of problems that this crazy favoritism would lead one to believe. I mean, this guy Luke Riley is a minus 265 based on what, Cage Warriors? Come on, bro. It does not add up. I need to see UFC experience out of the Cage Warriors guys before I can put my backing on them. So it's as simple as that to me. Look, he could be the next big thing out of England, and England always needs more stars. So if he's going to be that, then Bogdan Grod is a great person to establish that against, because Bogdan Grod is a tough guy who can do exactly what you were just saying, Chase. He can pull a victory out, and he will give you a war of a fight if you make it one. But I need to see it before I can go anywhere all in on anybody like that. So, Cage Warriors has graduated some great fighters, just not consistently.
Yeah, I think what they're going for is that Bogdan Grod I think he got knocked out by Tom Nolan in the Contender Series, which is crazy to think about, or something like that. Yeah, I follow the first time around his Contender Series got knocked out by Tom Nolan. I think that they're thinking this Luke Riley is, he's got 8 knockouts on his record. He's 11-0. I'm sure they're thinking he's just going to chin my boy Brogdon, but I don't think that's what's going to happen here.
When are we going to see the Pink Panther back in? That's who I want to see again.
True.
That's somebody who I've actually seen do great things. Then I'll believe it. coming off of the regional with a really hot streak is all well and good. We just saw Ethan Ewing come in and get a really nice win. It's not impossible. I'm not trying to say that you know, if I'm going to be sitting here, you know, on the next episode saying, "Damn, I really didn't expect it out of Luke Riley." I'll be okay with that. But until I see it, I got to go with what I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, next up is Abdul Rahman Yakyayev versus Rafael Sequeira. What are you thinking here?
Do you not remember this guy? Okay,
Oh,
so
Cicada? Yeah, I definitely do.
no, not Cicada.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that dude sucks. No, the Abdul Rahman Yakyayev. This is Hamzat's other mate. This is the Turkish Chechenian. And funny enough, this is the dude on the Contender Series that teeped the guy right in the stomach, and he screamed as loud as he could and fell over. So what does
Yes.
that mean for his UFC debut? I don't know, because that might have been one of the Cash Patel. One more time, that fight right there where the dude got teeped. Because when you go back and look at it, it's not even like he loaded up like the most crazy powerful, kick to the stomach. It was just like, boop, and
Yeah,
then he
this
was
was
just
not
like,
a Sparta. Yeah, this was not a Sparta kick. This was just
yeah.
a teep.
Yeah, and so the dude fell over and died. So I don't know what to take away from this. They don't have the numbers. Vegas is still formulating a plan here for the numbers. So I just keep that in mind, that Yakiev, he is Hamzat's boy, so they are trying to get him to be a name. That's what's going to happen.
I mean, he certainly could against Sakaria. I mean, like this dude. I just remember his last performance, coming off of another bad performance before that. This guy has had nothing but bad performances, as far as I can recall. It's amazing that he is still around. He might have won his last one. I don't know if he did or not. But either way, even in victory or defeat, he has been very, very less than impressive. So. You know, could Yakyayev come in here and set the world on fire with a nice victory? I mean, like, this is the exact guy that you could do that against. So go out there and do it, I guess. But can I necessarily go off of that to take him in this fight? Hard to say. I mean, we didn't see anything out of him in his initial performance. So what am I going off of? You know, it's hard. It's a really hard one to take based on that. Cicada, we've seen, again, be less than impressive. I guess I'll take the newcomer. It's going off of what I know. What I definitely know is I would never bet on Rafael Cicada.
100%.
All right. Next up is Tagir Ulanbekov versus Kyoji Horiguchi, coming back after a while, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Or is he coming from another organization?
I have to break this down to you because it's imperative. So this dude started his UFC career in May of 2014. Okay? In 1 year, he was fighting Demetrius Johnson for the belt and lost by submission.
Right.
Okay? He has a couple fights after that. He then goes to Ryzen, where he submits Manel Kape via arm triangle. Okay? Then he ends up hanging around Ryzen, goes to Bellator, wins unanimous decision. It says for a belt, too. Then goes to Ryzen right after that, gets knocked out by Kai Asakura. The immediate matchup after that, knocks out Kai Asakura. Okay.
Wow.
The fight after that, he's back to Bellator. He gets knocked out by Sergio Pettis. The fight after that, loses a unanimous decision to Patchy Mix. Now, most notable recently is he got his win back against Sergio Pettis, unanimous decision in Ryzen. So he's literally just been bouncing from Ryzen to Bellator, back to Ryzen to Bellator, back to Ryzen, and now he's back to the UFC where he started in 2014. This dude has a record of 34-5.
Jesus Christ! That's quite a guy has lived quite a life.
He's been around the block is all that all that should tell you is he's been around top competition is what that should tell you.
Yeah, and all of that, and he's 35 years old. I mean, you know, not exactly a spring chicken in the sport, but still a lot of mileage for that 35. So what does that mean against Tagir Ulanbekov?
He gets held down for 3 rounds, and there's a decision that's going to be unanimous for Tagir Ulanbekov. Yeah.
I'll take it. I mean, based on all of what you've said, you know, anytime that we're seeing fight, even if he has UFC experience, that's all well and good. Fighting DJ, obviously, that's a high-level fight that he took very early in his career. He bounced around a whole lot of other promotions. We have seen what happens when people come in from other promotions. Even if he started out here, the bulk of his career has been all over the place outside of it. I have been less than enthused by the crop of talent that we've seen coming in from outside. I don't, again, until I see it, until I am aware of it in a real way, in real world, now, here and now imagery, I can't back that horse. So I think that I have to go with your assessment, Chase, to gear Ulanbekov.
There we go.
Crazy.
Yeah,
That is quite a story, though.
that's wild.
All right, then next up, Beksat Almakhan versus Alexandre Topuria. Excuse me, not Pantoja. Alexandre Topuria.
Yeah, so this one I think goes very similar to the last one. I think Beksat is a very good striker, but I think Topuria, he lacks the striking that his brother has, and we're going to see him go ahead and hold down another opponent because that's what he did in this first fight. He was just it was against Thicket. Was Thick Knees?
Thickness? Yeah, Colby.
Yeah, so I think the same thing's going to be true. He's going to be too worried about what the offerings are on the feet, and he's going to go ahead and get waist locks, do some Greco-Roman stuff, take him down, trip him, hold him down. Because Beksat, listen, the first person to finish Bracatona, he's got striking, and he did drop Umar in his debut on like 12 days notice.
Lose Chase again. Oh. Come on back. There he is.
So you can still hear me. Interesting enough that the internet continues to hate me. So
me too. It's been happening to both of us tonight.
So Beksat potentially has the opportunity to get a knockout. But I think, you know what? This being a coin flip is really good. I'm going to take Beksat. I like that.
That was where I was going because I have been less than impressed by Alexandre Topuria. I mean, we've seen very minor flecks of some good stuff here and there, but nothing that's ever equaled up to, man, that's actually something worth paying attention to. We know in this sport that there is always one sibling that is stars and bars better than the other. His sibling happens to be one of the best fighters potentially of all time. Definitely one of the best active fighters on the roster, to be sure. So where does that leave him? On the other side of that coin. So, again, a win over Colby Thickness, who barely eked out a win recently, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean,
no, I think he lost.
Oh, he ended up losing that one? Then there you go, even better. So, this is what I'm saying. I mean, Topuria has not done anything that would show me that he is UFC caliber in the slightest. I mean, I think that he is here literally based off of his last name. I think that it's only a matter of time before somebody beats him, and why not Beksat?
Yeah, 6-1. I mean, he's too early in his career for him to be, out here thinking he's the fucking GOAT like his brother. So I'm hoping we get a very early humbling experience from our guy Beksat.
I mean, Antonina Shevchenko, fucking
Sergio
Pettis, fucking Burns' brother, Gilbert's brother.
Mm-hmm. I think potentially the best one could end up being Louis Jourdain, just because he's not gonna. These are two dudes that are gonna be very middle of the road. Like, they're not gonna have aspiration. Like, he can live up to his brother because his brother's not a champion. It's just like they can both be ranked fighters. That's good enough.
And what I had said is that Louis might potentially be the better brother, and then he might actually have a higher ceiling. So we got to see it.
We'll see, and he'll start his career out in the correct weight class, which will probably help him out as well, because Charles Jourdain obviously had to go up and get knocked out by John Silva on short notice for him to realize, maybe I should go down to the class that suits me.
There you go. Yeah. You learn the hard way, you learn the easy way. Either way, you learn.
Yeah.
All right, next up is Ismail Nardiev versus the dyslexic king Ryan Loder. What do you think?
You were going to say either way you learn, but actually there is not an either way he learns from Mr. Ryan Loder, because he has a learning disability.
Oh, now me back again.
We're
having all kinds of problems tonight.
What I was going to say is, there is no easy way for this guy Ryan Loder with his learning disability. This guy is having a very troubled time. When it comes to breaking down game plans, the laminate folder that the coach gives him at the beginning of the camp, he struggles. That he needs it all in visuals. He's a visual learner. But when it comes to visuals, what I will say is Nardiev impressed me in his last performance. And I know you're going to be like, what? He unanimous loss to Jung Sung Park where he kneed him in the head on the ground and he got a point ticket? Yes. Nardiev is very skillful. And before the fight with Park, he was showing a lot of skills. And in the fight with Park, he was a little stupid. But he still had he still looked like a dog to me. The skills were there. I thought if he would have done right and not kneed him on the ground, he was probably going to do fine. But ended up losing, of course. And I think Ryan Loder is not great. I mean, we saw what what's his face? Becksat. Um, uh, Whatever the fucking dude's name. That dude that knocked out Ryan Loder, we saw him literally just get beat up by a tall French guy. So Ryan Loder's not necessarily somebody that I should be putting a lot of chips in the basket on. But Ishmael, at 29 years old, 24-8, I mean, he's pretty experienced. And what I saw, I didn't hate. So I'm going to go ahead and take Ishmael. I love my biblical names. I think those guys obviously cook.
I mean, I didn't love the scumbag aspect of him, but
Fair.
I do agree with the rest of your assessment. I do think that he was really dogged in that fight. I mean, it was one of those fights that it was kind of upsetting that those things happened because they didn't need to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like Ryan Loder, he is a skilled American freestyle type of wrestler guy. He's one of those kind of dudes that has a very basic level of skill. I would say striking is not his forte. He really is going to try to get to the ground. Nardiev able to counteract all of that and be tougher. I would think that's the problem with Ryan Loder, in my estimation, is just I don't see a ton of toughness out of him. I see more technique over tough.
He is the ultimate fighter winner, dude.
I mean,
Like,
yes, he is literally tough, but is he actually tough? I think is the issue that I have. And I'm seeing what I'm seeing when he's in the actual promotion, and I've just been less than impressed, to be perfectly honest. I look, I love my tough guys. The tough boys have a special place in my heart every year that we graduate a new class of tough alum. I always try to root for those guys, but Ryan Loder just one that has not really impressed me all that much. I mean, sad to say, like I hope for better things out of him. This would be a big win. This would be a really big step in the right direction if he can get a win over Nardiev, because Nardiev is a tough guy. But
yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, based on this, on what I've seen so far, yeah, Nardiev, just keep it clean, you fucking prick.
100%.
All right, next up, Narulo Aliyev versus Shamrock. Shamrock.
This is your other Patty's mate.
What a
So
name.
will he? Yeah, I think it's short for Shemothy, maybe. Sorry, stupid. I don't know what to expect from this one. Like I said, I don't know who Shamrock is. Aliev, I can tell just by looking at him, he's gonna be a grappler. He's a grappler, mate. There ain't no other way around it. He's gonna wait till he sees a jab coming, and he's gonna slip and rugby tackle you, and then he's gonna wrap his legs around and whatever you want to say. This dude's going to do it on the ground. I can tell already looking at him. Shamrock, this is the guy that people were. So when I saw the picture of Patty and his mates, and they're like, these two dudes are competing on Contender Series. The first comment said 32-year-old prospect, and then this is him right here. So what do
Yeah.
we have to say?
I mean, same notes apply from the last go around that we just talked about. I like the name. I think that Shamrock, he sounds like a rapper, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, Aliyev, Tajikistan, you know what you're getting out of a dude like that. Now, whether or not he's going to be able to withstand the ground game, maybe he pulls out something that we're not expecting. But like I said, I got to go with the gut. And Aliyev has UFC experience. Shamrock does not. Come out here and rock the house, Shem.
So Shamrock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has 6 rear naked chokes in his career.
All right. I mean, that's not nothing. Maybe he can hold his own on the ground. And, I mean, this would be a nice entry point. A guy like Aliyev, not exactly a huge name. So come in and get a victory and, make a name for yourself off of that. Get yourself a highlight reel entry there. But I just, again, until I see it, I'm not going to, I can't go definitive on it until I actually see it.
100%. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I like the name. I'm hoping that he does win because I want to keep him around so that I can make lots and lots of rock puns.
Yeah, we'll definitely see, but I'm taking scissors on this one. Yeah.
See, we're not going to be able to do that if he doesn't win this fight.
I thought that one was pretty good, guys.
I like it. I like it a lot, actually. Very good. Next up, our Danish king, Nicholas Dalby. Yes, shout out to Denmark. Shout out to our homie Bloomis. Nicholas Dalby is fighting Sagid Izgamaev.
Yeah, Izakiemev. Come on now.
Izakiemev. Okay, sorry. I tried my best. Give me a break.
No, but I think this one is wildly inaccurate when it comes to regional bias against somebody who's been proven in the UFC. When it comes to dogs, you have Dalby, Grod, and Spivak. And if you pair those together, I think you will be a very rich person because Nicholas Dalby being a plus 260 favorite means zero to me. It means zero to me, other than it means I'm going to get money and get paid, because Nicholas Dalby, proven vet, very athletic for his age, not somebody who's slowing down. I mean, he did just come off the first knockout of his career, but I don't take too much into it. He broke his nose, he had to go for it, and he dropped him at the end of the first round. That's a dude who just got killed by Bonfim, and Dalby beat Bonfim. So, what's that to you? I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, I mean, Dalby is a dog, bro. I mean, this guy goes out there and fights through the broken nose. I mean, the nose broke in the
Yeah.
first round. I mean, this dude was out there throwing haymakers and still landing effectively after his nose was halfway through the back of his head. So, yeah, Dalby is a beast, bro. I cannot, in good consciousness, go against Dalby against somebody who I'm not very familiar with here. This guy's a newcomer, I assume, right?
Yes, yeah, this is just some dude that they fucking found.
Yeah, so I mean, come on, dude. Got to go with Dalby. Definitely taking Denmark. By the way, a special announcement for anyone who is not aware. On this upcoming event, this event that we are talking about right now, if you come and watch along with myself and the Vitz King, we are going to be doing the second unboxing of snacks from Denmark sent over to us by our homie Bloomis. So we will be doing a Denmark and Germany snacks taste test while we are watching Nicholas Dalby get this win.
Hell yeah, I love to hear it. Yeah, this is going to be a very good one. I'm very, very excited for Nicholas Dalby to make his return because, like I said, I'm a guy who likes exciting fights. And this is a guy who never ceases to amaze me when it comes to the excitement of fights and the level of intensity that he's willing to bring in just every other fight. Like, he's the second fight of the night, and he's going to treat it as if he's fighting for a fucking belt. And that's what I love about Nicholas Dalby.
That's legitimately true. This guy fights every single fight like it is his life depending on it. So I
Yeah.
do appreciate that from him. Also, I want to say shout out to Mustafa Hakim in the chat. Bro, come over to the watch along on Saturday. All of your questions will be answered because they are all very good and valid questions that we do have answers for.
Hell yeah. Love to hear it.
All right. And to round out this card, first fight of the evening is Marek Buhilo versus Denzel Freeman. Denzel Freeman, someone that Bloomis was posting about in the Discord, saying that Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman had a love child, and he is now fighting in the UFC. Do not know much about Marek Buhijo, or yeah, Bujlo?
Yeah, his nickname is Boodzilla.
Boodzilla, love it.
So, what I would say about this guy is I don't know too much about him, don't know anything to be fair, and he's not from one of the other organizations that we normally see Polish people from. But what I will say is that when it comes to Polish people, and mainly strikers, of course, they do have Polish power. That is a thing that we've seen from certain fighters. They are able to just pull out some sort of hammer of God, and sometimes they also are very dogged fighters as well. When it comes to heavyweight, I'm assuming we have a striker here, and he's going to be Polish, and he's going to throw a big bomb that lands on this big fat slob of a thing, because it looks like this dude, according to the ESPN weights, we have a big discrepancy in the weights. We have somebody who's coming in towards the maximum weight, and then we have somebody who is actually cutting weight or in the middle realm of heavyweight. I think he's going to go ahead, and I'm just going to take the Polish guy off of vibes only. I'm going to take it.
I think that you're kind of cooking with the assessment here. This is yet another attempt from the UFC to bring in a new crop of heavyweights. They are trying their damnedest to find heavyweights anywhere that they can scrounge them up from. They are turning over every rock on planet Earth to find you heavyweights to fill out that division. So, of the criteria and the stats that we have from these two, I would side with Polish Power. That's I think a good gut instinct on this one.
Yeah, hell yeah, love to see it.
Indeed, and we will see all of them on Saturday. Early start time for this one out there in Qatar. This thing starts at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know that your boy will be watching along with the Vitz King live here on youtube.com/@Yama Show. And Chase, I know you can tell them where you will be.
They will find me on youtube.com supporting Denmark, of course. This week, Nicholas Dalby will be getting a big shout out from me on youtube.com/@CP Smalls. And of course, you guys will always be able to find me on Fridays watching 1 in the morning. So make sure you catch those streams because they are delightful.
Yes, definitely tune in and watch One Championship with Chase. They are great fights going on over there. Hang out with the homie while you're doing that. Of course, as I had said, on the upcoming watch along, we will be unboxing and enjoying some snacks from Denmark and from Germany sent over by Bloomis. So enjoy that with us as well. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Yama Show and on Facebook as well at Yama Show. So like and follow along on the platform of your choice. This is an extremely busy week for your boy, so it's going to be hard to get content out, but we'll see if we can possibly try to sneak another stream in before the fights come up on Saturday. If not, we will see you then. Either way, have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, and as always, fight on.